Katika kumbi hili, and within the students, we have students of the Kabete National Polytechnic, but equally students from different parts of the country. Indeed, an important conversation that you cannot afford to miss out on. So be steady so that at least we get to this, because then it involves you, it involves every other party in this room, it involves all of us. My name is Linda Alela, and we take a quick short break, and we come back with that and more.
Hey there friends, welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into a magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism, how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m. The Grind, where business meets brilliance. It's not just about the ideas.
I was working as a shampoo boy. I used to wash clients' hair on the sink.
It's about making them happen. From big wins.
In primary school, when we would be asked what people want to be, I was categorical that I want to be a nurse.
To hard lessons.
The consoles change, the gaming equipment keep changing.
We cover it all. Tune in to The Grind, where every episode is packed with insights.
The person who is serving customers, always be a customer-centric.
Strategies.
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
And stories to fuel your ambition. Don't just dream it, grind it. Mondays at 7:30 p.m.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora
ya janga la ajira humu nchini. Kumbuka katika siku za hivi karibuni tumeshuhudia humu nchini vijana wengi tu wakilalama kuhusiana na ukosefu wa ajira. Wiki iliyopita na wiki hii pia tukashuhudia matukio kadha wa kadha ambapo vijana wengi walijitokeza katika ukumbi wa KICC kuweza kubahatisha bahati yao iwapo watapata kazi katika mataifa ya kigeni. Na hapa nilipo katika chuo hiki cha kiufundi cha Kabete sipo peke yangu, ninaye mwenzangu George Maringo upande wa pili. George, mambo vipi?
Kwema kabisa. And Rain, we want to welcome you to this live broadcast coming to you from the Kabete National Polytechnic. My name is George Maringa. We invite you to engage us in the social media platforms. At TV47 News is the handle on X, formerly Twitter. You can find me at George Maringa _ at Andreen Kilemi, at Kilemi Andreen, and at Linda _ Alela. Tonight, as we ask the question, is TVET the solution to unemployment crisis? We are not alone. Right here in this hall, in this special town hall, we shall be getting to introduce our guests in just a short while, but I want also to introduce my colleague Linda Alela, who is also on the other side, before we get to the nitty-gritties from the panelists. Over to you, Linda.
Thank you, George. We all agree that it can never be a town hall without the audience, and I'll be seated on this side with the audience. As I've said, we have students from right here, the Kenya, that is the Kabete, the National Polytechnic as well. We have students who have, a beautiful story. One of them will be telling us just why they opted to go to a TVET institution as opposed to campus, having attained the mark. But of importance, we equally have those ones that are from different institutions. And like my colleagues would rightfully ask, is this going to be the solution of addressing the concerns of just getting us to have employment where we don't necessarily have to wait for the government to create employment, but we proceed to create employment by ourselves? So like I said earlier on, we'll be having the mic going round so that we all get to hear from the people. Are you excited in any way to...
Thank you, Lila. Excited to be part of this conversation. Thank you.
Yes, and of course, and many other are here equally awaiting to be part of this very important conversation. I think it is only noble that we begin from that end where Andreen and George are as they steer the wheel forward. Over to you, Andreen.
Naam, asante sana Linda Alela, shukran sana mtazamaji bila shaka kwa kufuatilia kipindi. Tuko hapa katika chuo cha kiufundi cha Kabete na sasa tupate fursa kuwajuza walio hapa jukwani. Wanasema asiyekujua hakudhamini. Nitaanza karibu na mimi kabisa, ameketi Virginia Ngindiru ambaye ni mtaalam wa masuala ya elimu, vile ni mkurugenzi katika shirika la Zizi Africa Foundation. Karibu sana Virginia kwenye kipindi. Ameketi karibu na Virginia Stanley Maindi ambaye pia ni mtaalamu wa masuala ya elimu na vile ni mkurugenzi wa masuala ya kiufundi kutoka shirika la KNQA. Karibu sana Bwana Maindi kuungana nasi kwenye studio. Maringa, upande wako una nani?
Absolutely. Of course, there's a panel that is made up of 6 panelists who have been drawn from various sectors from across the country. And picking up from where Andreen has left, we are joined by Professor Kisilu Katainge. He is the CEO of SIDA. Welcome, Professor.
Thank you.
Brilliant. And we are also joined by our hosts. Of course, we could not have this conversation without the hosts who are the Kabete National Polytechnic. Representing Kabete National Polytechnic is the Chief Principal, Patrick Mushemi. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Asante sana. And last but not least, seated to my immediate left is Alvin Mukabwa from, he is the COO Generation Kenya. Now, these are the guys who will be going out, and what they handle is matters mentoring these young people who go through these TVET institutions. And this conversation is clustered into several parts, 4 main parts, where we'll be identifying whether actually you as Kenyans, you as our viewers, know what TVETs are. By the way, do you know what TVET stands for? I will be glad to just inform you, even as we continue with this conversation, the technical and vocational education and training, that is TVET. That is the basis of the conversation tonight. We'll be seeking to also look at the challenges that affect these institutions in this way of learning, followed by the quality assurance on matters, quality of training and trainers. And then later on, we will be heading over to or wind up on the way forward, the solutions of this specific conversation on matters TVET. Andreen, there is someone else on your end?
Yes, we have Joseph N. Njao, that is the Acting Secretary TVET. Karibu sana Bwana Njao. And thank you so much for making time to be here with us tonight. Tunasema ni kikao na leo tunazamia maswala ya elimu. Labda tukianza moja kwa moja, Maringa, kutoka upande wangu nimhusishe Bi Virginia aliyeketi karibu na mimi kabisa. Tunaangazia maswala ya kiufundi, vyuo vya kiufundi, na tunauliza swali, elimu inayotolewa katika vyuo vyetu vya kiufundi hapa nchini ni vya ubora wa kiwango kipi?
Asante sana Andrew. Na kwanza kabisa ni shukuru kwa kuwa hapa pamoja nasi leo jioni ya leo. Ningependa kusema nitachanganya lugha kwa vile Kiswahili kwa muda mwingine huwa kinatatiza.
Inakubalika.
Nitachanganya lugha ili tuweze kuelewana.
Naam.
Kama ulivyonitambulisha, na shiriki na organization inaitwa Zizi Africa Foundation, na hakika sisi tunajihusisha haswa na mambo ya research and evidence on education matters. So tukiangazia mambo TVET, tumekuwa katika hii sekta na tumefanya kazi na institutions zilizokuwa hapa hadi kwa muda usiokuwa mbali sana, wiki kadhaa zilizopita, SIDAC. Tukiangazia ni jinsi gani tunavyoweza kuelekeza na kuhakikisha kwamba quality of teaching and training inaweza kuwa ya ubora zaidi. So from our research perspectives, I think tumekuwa tukiangazia sana mambo ambayo this issue of unemployment. When we talk about training and employment, inaonekana ni kana kwamba kuna tatizo pale kiasi. Hivi kwamba not most of the majority of the graduates ambao wanatoka katika training institution sana hawawezi kujipatia kazi katika different industry. So quality yetu ya training, if we are to talk about that for now, I think we have really tried. If we look at from the point of transition from the competency-based curriculum, we have been able to adopt competency-based education training and all those CBA assessments, which actually is a step in the right direction. Na inatuangazia kwamba in as much as we have areas we can improve on, we still have spaces and opportunities to improve. So I think for me, in terms of quality, it's just to applaud that there's a lot more that we can do together if we collaborate. But in highlight is there's progress that is happening, and we have to actually ask ourselves, what are the areas of training that we need to focus on? And we are in an era where technology really is shifting most of the dynamics in the employment world, but also in the training space. And we are sure that in the next so many years, technology is a big game changer when we come to the world of work. So I think it's also calling upon ourselves to really disrupt and rethink our models of training to be able to accommodate the future perspectives as we know they are.
And thank you, Virginia. Maringa, Virginia says we need to focus on the areas of training that we need to improve on. Tumeangazia quality, ubora wa elimu ya vyuo vya kiufundi. Lakini hata kabla tujazidi kuangazia ubora wake, labda tuangazie ile awareness yake kwa upande wako labda.
Absolutely. And, on this whole conversation of Tvets, and I'd like perhaps to poke some holes on the State Department that is specifically responsible for Tvets. Bwana Joseph Njau, tonight we're glad that you're representing the PS, Dr. Moya. And when you look at how the conversation of Tvets and the awareness in this country has been, from a State Department perspective, whereas the government says it is making the strides, let's begin by the recognition and the awareness and the appreciation of Tvets in this country. Where are we? Is it a lesser option? And when we look at it, do you think Kenyans still consider it to be, less of a white or blue collar job, or a white or blue collar training and matters education?
Thank you so much, George. And let me say that it is an honor to appear in the TV 47 so that we can be able to have a discussion with the Kenyans in as far as TVET is concerned. And allow me to say that we cannot talk about one level of education and training being better or superior than the other, because as far from where I'm sitting, whether it is university education or TVET training, they are complementary. And the reason I'm saying that they are complementary is that if I may use the example of the engineering field, you find that in the engineering field we have, first and foremost, we have the scientists at the very high end, whereby we know that scientists, they think in the abstract, they talk abstract issues. And under them, we have the engineers, and it is the engineers who has the responsibility of taking those abstract ideas and designing them into systems that are going to be used in our productive system. Under them, we have technologists and technicians, and technologists and technicians are the ones who actually take the design of the engineers, and then they are the ones who fabricate these designs from the engineers to an extent that these designs can be used in the productive system. Under the technologists and the technicians, we have the craftspeople who are actually supposed to run the systems. So from where I'm seated, we cannot say that it is either better or worse than maybe the university education, but the two levels, all the levels of the education, they are complementary. Because on the other side, if I look at the basic education level, because you can also compare that one with TVET, we find that the mandate basically is to look at the talents identification and the talents placement. And when we come to TVET, the mandate of TVET is skills development. When you go to the next level, that is the university level, we find that their mandate basically is research. So if you look at all this, it's just one continuum, and one level is feeding onto the other. So I cannot say that one level is better than the other one. However, we have seen a trend in Kenya whereby the students or the graduates from who have acquired the marks that can enable them to even go to university, they have been opting for TVET. And we can say that initially we had this kind of an idea from the Kenyan people that TVET was inferior to university education, but now that one is turning around. Because like last year, we had over 10,000 who had achieved a C+ mark to go to university, but they opted to join TVET. So all in all, I can say all levels are complementary, but we are seeing a situation whereby people are increasingly seeing that TVET is also a way, is a pathway. It's not the last option, but it's a pathway as important as that one of the university. Thank you.
Let's speak perhaps from the principal. How is the population in terms of even parents who come to enroll their students, their children, to be able to enroll in TVET? How has it been, especially here at the National Polytechnic?
Thank you, George. And once again, let me take this opportunity to thank the TV47 and to thank the viewers and to thank all of you for being here at Kabete National Polytechnic, the oldest institution in Kenya, the institution that attained 100 years this year. So we are glad that we are here, all of us. And on the issue, like my State Department has observed, the issue of awareness when it comes to TVET, over the last few years, the last years it has been a bit low. We were not seen as answering to the needs of the economy, what it requires. Otherwise, most of the students wanted just to hear some other levels of learning. But of late, the turn has been to TVET. But I want to say this one has been associated with our economy. You realize that the skills are needed in the economy. And we have been producing certificates. And when you go to the economy, those certificates cannot answer to the needs of the economy. So I think Kenyans have taken some time and they have come to realize that there is what the economy requires. And what the economy requires is skill, and skill are offered mostly. The economy requires quite a number. Our middle-level colleges, I think, we require to answer to our economy, and that is what the need has come. When you talk of the parents or our population, Kenyans, they have really come to appreciate the TVET.
And how has your population grown in terms of, whereas you turned 100 years this year, how has the population grown exponentially over time?
I want to say this institution, although in the past it has observed or we have attained a population of over 10,000, with the changes here and there, the population had come down. And with this awareness, but of rate, for the last 2 years, our population has increased by 4,000. So we are now close to 11,000 population in this institution. Yeah.
Andrew.
Naam, bila shaka ni dhahiri shairi kwamba ule usajili wa wanafunzi katika vyuo vya kiufundi unazidi kuongezeka katika siku za hivi karibuni. Nakumbuka hata mwaka jana nilipokuwa nikiangalia waliokuwa wamejisajili kupitia mtandao wa KUSPS, wengi walipendelea kuingia katika vyuo vya kiufundi ilhali walikuwa wamepata alama ambazo zingewapeleka katika vyuo vikuu, na hata tukaona tofauti kidogo kwamba wale watahiniwa wa kike wanapendelea kuingia katika vyuo vya kiufundi. Na labda tunajiuliza ni kwa sababu gani, Profesa Kisilu, ni kwa sababu gani tunashuhudia mabadiliko haya ambapo awali wengi walipendelea vyuo vikuu na haswa wale wanafunzi wa kike wangependelea kuelekea katika vyuo vikuu, lakini mambo ni tofauti. Katika vyuo vya kiufundi tunawapata wakitengeneza magari, wakipaka rangi, wakiwa kwenye mbao. Tofauti hii inatokana na nini?
Kwanza nikubalie nishukuru TVET kwa kutualika kwa huu mkutano na kwa hiki kikao. Secondly, allow me also to mix languages.
Very okay.
Because it's important we cover all the sectors. I also would like to appreciate the team that is here and all the members who have come to join us in this kikao. First and foremost, looking at statistics, we are about 50-50 in terms of our population in this country. We have about 50% male, about 50% female. And therefore, our families are kind of balanced. Kenya has made substantive steps towards ensuring that education for all has reached in almost all the regions. So we have educated boy child, we've educated girl child. And these are us. Our population is us. When it comes to the technical education, where the average of skills, the competencies that are required in our economic force, you will find that there are spaces that have predominantly been kind of occupied by men, and other spaces have been predominantly kind of occupied by male. And with the kind of information that we are getting and sharing, the empowerment and the kind of sensitization that we've had, it has become very clear that no job is reserved for a particular gender. Our girl children, our female students have found that they fit in the construction industry just as good as the male students, and they perform at par. When you go to the hotel industry, you realize that men have come to realize that that is not a space for ladies alone. It is also a space for men. And given that we are serving an economy where jobs are required, where the population is growing, it has become imperative that we all mix and we get our balanced enrollment in different categories.
All right.
Going backwards in statistics, we find that TVET has a big space to cover. Our higher education at the university level takes about 20% of the population that we produce into the market every year from the Form 4. And we have 80% of that population remaining. And believe you me, most of what we do in our daily lives is not about the levels of design at the university level. What we do in our daily lives, even if I analyze myself or I analyze you, starting from the head, you'll find that there's a TVET touch in the hair. You come to the makeup, the face, there's a TVET touch.
Yeah.
You come to the dressing. I don't think this was done by a graduate. It's a TVET touch. You come to the lower section, the shoes, it's all TVET. And the food that we eat, the means that we've used to arrive to this venue
it's all TVET. Even the facilities we are on, the chairs, the tables, the kind of ambience we are enjoying is mostly TVET. So TVET is the option that makes us feel the way we should, that makes us feel developed, that makes us feel appreciated. And we need to appreciate it in totality, and it's only fair that all gender participate in it.
Professor, let's talk about the curriculum, mtaala wa vyuo hivi vya kiufundi.
Yes.
Kama CEO wa SIDAC, kuna mabadiliko mengi ambayo tumeshuhudia katika miaka ya hivi karibuni, na hata jana tukaadhimisha mwaka mmoja tangu utekelezwaji wa mtaala wa CBET kuanza kufanywa, na ambao ulilenga kuhakikisha kwamba wanafunzi wanajihusisha kwa 70% madarasani, mikono yao practical, na kwa 30% basi ni mafunzo ya darasani, yani theory. Tumepiga hatua?
Yes. Thank you for that good question. We've made big strides as a country at TVET SIDAC, and I like the way we began with the definition of TVET. SIDAC stands for Curriculum Development, Assessment and Certification Council. I am the CEO of that organization, and it is an organization that is mandated to develop all curricula for TVET, to do assessment for all TVET in the competence-based programs, and to give competency certificates. At TVET SIDAC, we've had a change. We are implementing the competence-based education and training, where we develop our curriculum based on what the industry requires. Because there has been a hue and cry about we are producing people who cannot fit into the economy. So we changed the format of our curriculum development, where we look at what the industry requires, and whatever standards that are required in the industry, they now enable us to draft a curriculum to make our trainees to achieve that level of competence in that particular skill as required by industry. The industry therefore gives us what we call the occupational standards, which are like the requirements for this, for somebody to perform at this level in this particular area of specialization. He or she must have this competence, must have these work-related attitudes, must have these kind of behaviors. Out of those behaviors, and guided by the industry experts, we develop a curriculum which is implemented by our institutions in a way that we send or we allow our trainees to stay 70% of their time at industry, being kind of guided into how things are done at the industry, so that when they come to the school, they are now learning the theory that superimposes into the practical to give the person all-rounded exposure. Okay. Once we get that curriculum, institutions train with it, then we come back to do the assessment, which is competence-based assessment, and we are saying we are assessing practicals we want you to do. A case in point is what happened yesterday and the day before here at Kabete National Poly, which is a blessed place. We were getting our youth to be selected to go for employment in some of the other countries that require to engage our youth. And the interviews were simple. Show us what you can do. If it is about driving, the car is there, drive the car. It's not about how do we drive a car. Just do it. If you can do it, then you move to the next level. If it's about the crane, show us how you manage the crane, how you manipulate it. If you can do it, then you qualify. So we've moved from theory-based mode of curriculum development, theory-based mode of assessment, theory-based mode of training, and we are saying we are training with industry for industry towards achieving competencies that are industry-related and industry-required. And that training is flexible, such that we can allow somebody to come for a skill, and then once you are good at that skill, you can go do some work. After some time, you come back for an additional skill.
Okay. And we'll be coming, to dissect more on what you're talking about. And I can see, the Director of Technical Services at Kenya National Qualifications Authority are reacting to some of the things you're saying, but just to also appreciate feedback. Moise Bridge, Quenet, Tuko Pamoja, Nikirui, Eric, Olembiwa, please keep your feedback coming, and we also invite you to send your questions to our esteemed panel. We'll also be fronting them to them. Stanley Mindy, as the KNQA, he has talked about the curriculum. So when you then look at the qualifications themselves, are they matching what we are seeing, especially in the Kenyan job market and what the market requires? Because over time, things have changed. COVID-19 changed how people, innovate and go about business. Is it commensurate to, first of all, the local market and then also the international market?
Yeah. Asante sana, George.
Karibu.
Kwanza kabisa ningependa kujiunga na wenzangu panelists kushukuru TV47 kwa kutuandalia kikao hichi cha aina yake. Hiki ni kikao cha kipekee katika mambo yetu ya elimu katika nchi yetu ya Kenya, na kwa hivyo TV47 ni ile TV ambayo ina lead na wengine wanafuatilia.
Asante.
Pili, nafurahia sana kuwa katika jukwaa hili ambalo miezi 2 iliyopita tulikuwa hapa tukisherehekea miaka 100 ya TVET katika nchi yetu ya Kenya, na ile theme ya hiyo celebration ilikuwa if education is the key, then TVET is the master key to employability. Na kwa hivyo hakungekuwa na mahali pema kuanzisha hizi vikao. Nafikiria hii ni kikao cha kwanza katika chuo cha anuai cha Kabete ambacho ni chuo kikuu sana, mzee ama the oldest in this country. Sio mzee. Now,
chuo ambacho kimekolea.
Chuo kilichokolea. Now, pili, mimi ninatoka nawakilisha shirika ambalo linasimamia viwango vya elimu, vyeti, mambo ya qualifications. Ndio kwa sababu inaitwa Kenya National Qualifications Authority. Na authority kazi yake ni kuhakikisha ya kwamba ile training yote ambayo inafanyika katika nchi yetu ya Kenya inafikia kile kiwango cha kitaifa. Na kiwango cha kitaifa kinalingana na viwango vya dunia, global international standards. Kwa hivyo Kenya National Qualification Authority ina regulate education and training, sio tu kwa TVET peke yake, bali ni kuanzia kwa basic education, kuanzia primary mpaka the highest level, doctorate level degree. Na kazi yake ni kuset zile standards za training ambazo mtu akienda through training kwa vyuo vyetu, ikiwa ni primary school, secondary school, ikiwa ni TVET, hata kama ni university, hata anahitajika kufikisha viwango fulani. Kwa hivyo Kenya National Qualification Authority ina set standards ambazo zinaimplementiwa na mashirika ya serikali ambayo imewekwa kuhakikisha ya kwamba viwango vya masomo yetu ya Kenya ni zile zinalingana na needs za labor market. Kwa hivyo National Qualification Authority ina link between labor market and academia, the training side. Na inahakikisha ya kwamba masomo kabla ianze kutrain haianzii kwa shule pekee, inaanzia starting point ni labor market. Lazima survey iende ifanyike tuhakikisha ya kwamba ni nini labor market inataka. Na inapotaka hivyo, profesa ametuambia inatupatia what we call occupational standards. Sasa hizo occupational standards ndio zitatumika na shirika kama TVET SIDAC kuandaa zile curriculum sasa za kufundisha. Na alafu pia kule kufundisha kuna standards zitafuatiliwa kuhakikisha ya kwamba zinafunzwa kulingana na viwango vya kitaifa, na hizo viwango vya kitaifa na vya kidunia. So inapofanya hivyo mpaka mwisho ya wakati mtu ana graduate, inahakikisha kwamba ile graduation, ile certificate yenye utapata ni ile certificate ya ukweli, na ya ukweli kwa sababu imepitia ile process ambayo inatakana ndio mtu graduate. Alafu pili, Kenya National Qualification Authority promote flexible means of training so that it promotes access to a qualification. Ndio unaona siku hizi hata kama kuna ile informal learning, kama mtu amewahi kupata ujuzi na hakuwa shuleni, saa hizi unaweza ingia kwa shirika ambayo ina examination bodies ikufanyie assessment na upate certificate. Na certificate imekuwa kitu ya maana kwa sababu ukitaka kuwa mtu ambaye unakubaliwa na labor market, lazima uwe na document. That document is a qualification or a certificate. And so the aim is to promote and ensure that there is access to qualifications so that we become employable. If you want to enhance employability of our youth, first thing is to ensure that each one of them gets a qualification. Whether you went through a formal training institution or you learned your skills and competences, you acquired them outside the formal learning. And then finally, Kenya National Qualification Authority also markets our skills, our qualifications globally. Nowadays, the training we offer is not just for local consumption. Education and training is supposed to be a globalized affair so that we create opportunities just beyond the country. We train for international market, we train for regional market, and ensure that our youth, and for you to be accepted in the international market, your graduates must meet the national and international standards of our qualification.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And, apart from that, now this part of the panel is the one that is more policy level. And then these wonderful ladies and gentlemen will then step out to find institutions like Generation Kenya. And I can see, someone asking, I'm Felix, a first-year student from Kabete National Polytechnic. Thank you, Felix. He's asking, I would like to ask the panel if one is possible to do the CDAC exams without payment. You can ruminate over that question, and then you'll be able to come. But then, my friend here, these guys will later come, Alvin, they will later come to organizations like yourself. You're a non-profit organization, and you then link them up with the job market. Even as you talk about awareness, do you think the job market as it is right now appreciates training and qualifications from Tvets when you compare to the reception from other forms of training?
Thank you so much, and allow me to join my fellow panelists in appreciating Mr. Patrick and the Kabete National Polytechnic family for having us here.
Yeah.
Generation is a global youth education to employment program whose mission is to transform education to employment systems to be able to prepare and support young people into employment that will otherwise be inaccessible. The question that you've raised is a very interesting question.
Yes.
Because the problem that we have is a two-sided problem. Because on one hand we have supply, and on the other hand we have the demand. If you spoke to the young people who are present here today, they will tell you there are no jobs. And if you went and spoke to the employers, they will tell you there is no talent. And so we ask ourselves the question of where is the mismatch? And we realize that the mismatch is in skilling. And one of the things that we try to address is that how do we ensure that the type of skilling and curriculum that we develop is driven by what the market is looking for. It's industry driven. That means that we don't start by training, we start by the jobs. And so that means that you have to first identify what are the pain points that the employers are looking for. Beyond the pain points, one of the things that we are trying to do is to ensure that we are recruiting these young people, not just based on academic qualifications, but based on intrinsics and motivation. Because when they go into employment, we want to showcase that with the right skills and with the right intrinsics and with the right motivation, young people who are not considered as well-educated to go into university can actually perform at par.
Allow me to even interrupt. Guys, by show of hands, how many of you are motivated to join the job market? None is motivated to join the job market. Principal, you may have a problem.
Yeah. They might
Make sure you link up with him, but go on.
Yeah, sorry. I'll try and speak a bit loudly.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that we are trying to address, because employers are really saying that there is that mismatch. in that they cannot get good entry-level talent. And one of the things that we are trying to do is to ensure that, one, we start by speaking to the employers. And just to reinforce what Stanley has said, and also Mr. Njau, in terms of how do we ensure that we are speaking to the industry, identifying what are the specific pain points that the industry has. Once we identify those pain points, we come back and develop curriculum that doesn't just answer technical aspect, but it also answers the behavioral, professional, and mindset.
Okay.
Because those are some of the key concerns that employers have. And once you do that, it doesn't become a question of job hunting, it becomes a question of job matching.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Hold that thought, because we are due to take a short commercial break. I believe the audience here is also following. And just to get some more feedback, even as Prof ruminates here, Anthony Njagi from Athi River, Machakos County. The Tvets, he says, the Tvets should focus on talent search, like drama, music, etc. They should deviate from white-collar jobs and focus on talent. Principal and the rest of the panelists will be able, of course, to respond on these and other questions. You're watching Kikao, a special broadcast coming to you live from the Kabete National Polytechnic with me, George Maringa, Andrin Kilemi, and Linda Alela. We want to take a short break. On sign language interpretation is Rhoda Nyamai. We are back in a few minutes. Please do stay with us, even as we invite you to continue engaging us on our socials and on the numbers that you can reach us that are on your screens right now. We are back in a short while.
Hey there, friends! Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side. We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism, how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m. The Grind, where business meets brilliance. It's not just about the ideas.
I was working as a shampoo boy. I used to wash clients' hair on the sink.
It's about making them happen. From big wins.
In primary school, when we would be asked what people want to be, I was categorical that I want to be a nurse.
To hard lessons.
The consoles change, the gaming equipment keep changing.
We cover it all. Tune in to The Grind, where every episode is packed with insights,
The person who is serving customers, always be a customer-centric.
strategies,
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
and stories to fuel your ambition. Don't just dream it, grind it. Mondays at 7:30 p.m.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwe watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa, mikakati na hadithi za kukuza azma yako.
For me to succeed, I have to fight.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30.
Karibu tena mtazamaji, shukran kwa kuzidi kufuatilia runinga hii ya TV47. Unatazama Kikao. Ni kikao maalum ambapo leo tunajikita katika masuala ya elimu, tukizamia vyuo vya kiufundi humu nchini, tukijaribu kudadisi, kuchanganua na kupambanua iwapo elimu inayotolewa katika vyuo hivyo vya kiufundi vina ubora wake na iwapo vinaendana na mahitaji ya soko la ajira. Iwapo ndo mwanzo unaungana nasi, ni kujuze kwamba tunakujia mbashara kutoka chuo cha kiufundi cha kitaifa cha Kabete, na hapa ninao watangazaji wenza ambao ni George Maringa na Linda Alela, mienyi wako Andrin Kilemi kwenye lugha ya ishara Nyiroda Nyamai. Tulisema na baadhi ya wakazi kutoka kaunti tofauti tukitaka kujua iwapo wanaofahamu kuhusiana na vyuo vya kiufundi kwanza kabisa, na iwapo wao wenyewe au hata watoto wao wangependa kujiunga na vyuo hivyo vya kiufundi. Na mwisho kabisa tukazungumza na baadhi ya wanafunzi ambao walizoa alama za A na B na hata chanya, na ambao walifuzu katika kuweza kujiunga na vyuo vikuu, lakini wakachagua kujiunga na vyuo vya kiufundi. Hebu sasa tusikize walikuwa na yepi ya kusema. Tazama.
Shule ya kifundi yenye inafunza wanafunzi kupata wachipikaji katika sehemu mbalimbali ya skills, kama vile ya electrical, kama vile ya mechanical.
TVET, it is where the base of the education, and we've realized that they are working better than even those who have gone for higher educations.
TVET is a very good place to learn, kwa sababu sahi hapa nje mostly unapata you do the jobs that you can be capable and you have skills of doing it. Na through TVET you can get these tactics and na upate hizo skills za kufanya kazi hapa nje yenye unaweza jiajiri.
Masomo ya kiufundi haina haja ya kutafuta kazi, bali kazi na kutafuta.
When you go to a TVET institution, it becomes more hands-on.
Naam, mtazamaji, hayo ni maoni tu ya baadhi ya wakazi kutoka kaunti tofauti, kaunti ya Kericho, Pokot Magharibi, vile kutoka Nakuru na hata hapa jijini Nairobi, tukiwauliza iwapo wanaufahamu kuhusiana na vyuo hivi vya kiufundi. Na ni swala ambalo Bwana Njao aligusia awali, Maringa, ulipomuuliza kuhusiana na iwapo kwa upande wao kama idara, kama serikali wameweza kuhakikisha kwamba ufahamu huu una wananchi vya kutosha. Lakini kwa sasa tukirejesha mjadala hapa, ni mhusishe Bwana Stanley Maindi ambaye anashughulikia viwango vya vyeti ambavyo vinatolewa kwa wanafunzi hawa wa shule au vyuo vya kiufundi. Bwana Maindi, kuna lile swala la vyeti kwa watu ambao tayari wana ujuzi lakini hawana ile certification, hawana vile vyeti vya kuwatambulisha ambao inafahamika kama RPL. Labda utuzungumzie kuhusiana na hilo, kutoa tu ufahamu. Najua ni swala ambalo lilipendekezwa, likapitishwa na sasa limeweza kukumbatiwa na wananchi, kwamba ninaweza nikawa nina skills zangu, ninaweza nikawa nina ujuzi wangu, lakini sina cheti cha kunitambulisha rasmi.
Asante sana Andrin. Nilisema ya kwamba kiwe mandate yetu ni kuhakikisha ya kwamba tunapeana njia tofauti tofauti ambayo Wakenya wanaweza tumia wakapata cheti cha ukweli. So that is, it gives optional approaches, optional pathways to a qualification. Kama umeenda kupitia shule za kawaida, unaweza fikia mahali upate cheti. Kama hujaenda shule, pengine umejifunza katika pahali pa kazi, ama umepata ujuzi mahali pengine, pia wakati huu unaweza pata cheti. Na kuna hii philosophy inasema there is learning all the time. Every time you are learning something, from birth to death you are learning. Our educational system was not prepared earlier to recognize, validate and recognize this learning acquired outside the normal school system. So it is until now, when the government developed a policy framework called recognition of prior learning, a policy that recognizes those experiences you have learned. Everybody has learned a skill somewhere. That skill may not be in your certificate, it's not recognized. But globally, this has been happening in many countries. And so when you look at our economy is predominantly informal sector driven. Over 83% of the people who drive our economy have skills, but they don't have corresponding qualifications. And you remember, initially I said that employers want a document for them to trust you, that you can do some work. They want you to show a document. That document is a certificate or a qualification. There are people who have skills. They are very good in their respective skill areas. But because they don't have a document to show, they are always inconvenienced. Sometimes they are underpaid, because you don't have a certificate to show that I possess these skills. And so for the government to assist such, they developed the recognition of prior learning policy framework that was launched on March 22nd this year by the Deputy President. And now the policy is under implementation. It is being implemented by authorized institutions like TVET, SIDAC, institutions that have a legal mandate to issue a certificate that is recognizable. And that certificate that is issued to this person is not different from the other formal certificates, because the kind of assessment we have in Kenya, our education system has changed to competency based. It is about what you can do. How you learned to do it is not now the issue. The issue is, what competences do you possess? And if you are able to showcase and certify examiners and assessors that I have these competences, they will assess you and issue you with a certificate, which is now registered in the national database of all qualifications. And so this is happening to ensure that we don't have fake ones coming in. And we also ensure that whoever gives you is an institution that is recognized. And this certificate you get is also recognized outside Kenya, globally, internationally. It can help you move around, move to any other part of the country or the world and be issued with a job opportunity. However, what the authority does is to ensure that all qualifications issued in the country, whether through the formal school system or through informal or non-formal learning, meet the national standards of qualifications. If it is an artisan level 4, whether you got it from Kabete National Polytechnic or you learned it in the Juakali, it will still be the same. It carries the same weight, it carries the same value, and it meets the same standards. And so the aim of recognition of prior learning is to promote access to those disadvantaged Kenyans who could not afford school fees, who dropped out of school because they didn't manage it, but they learned from the workplaces. Through apprenticeships, they were able to learn. Some of them were learning even at home. Some were learning through social, digital instruments. And so now we have opened up those opportunities for them to walk into an assessment center. Like Kabete National Polytechnic here is another assessment center. You can walk in, they check what they have prepared to assess and issue a certificate through recognition of prior learning. So prior learning assessment is another optional way of assessing people who have competences. We also use the formal dual training is another way. Competence-based, CBET, which Professor is also handling, is another pathway. And so the country has already put in place those mechanisms. We have institutions that have already been accredited, registered to assess Kenyans who have skills, but they don't have corresponding qualifications.
Indeed, Alvin, before we went to the break, you were talking about something, and we did see the government through the CS, Alfred Mutua, over the weekend saying that the young people who showed up for the interviews at KICC, some were in dreadlocks in industries that do not require them to have dreadlocks. Some were saying they can drive, whereas they cannot. You're asked to park a car in reverse in the basement. You're unable to do that. When you look at the skills mismatch that has an issue that has cropped up, what do you make about, whereas you're talking about motivation, in terms of personal and interpersonal skills, whereas the job market has indeed made young people deviate from their original courses. Over time, how does one then gain back on track and say, fine, I studied, for example, culinary arts, I found myself in the textile industry, but I can still find my way back and, to be able to even combine or even continue in this area that I studied, or rather that I did not study, whereas I studied in a different field.
I think one of the things that we very critical about is that when young people come to us, be it what we're doing at Generation or even in the TVET, I think the starting point is that we need to have reality talks with the young people so that we are giving them a perspective of the industries that they are getting.
Are they ready to listen? Because
yes,
this is the generation that mostly is Gen Z, and they've been accused by the employers that you're connecting them to of not being very skilled, very passionate.
They are actually eager to listen, beyond ready. And I think, one, the information that we're giving up has to be authentic, because the way we look at our programming, we look at young people as a very key partner, because they are the critical element here in terms of talent. Now, this problem can be solved at the point of curriculum, in that before we develop a curriculum, when we go to an employer, how do we identify what is critical for the employer? One, you look at what are the value drivers. For instance, the question that you raised, you might realize that for someone who's going to work in the bank, the value drivers are totally different, in that you need to be professional. You need to look a certain way. Whereas you can find someone who's going to work in the BPO sector, where the most relevant value driver or skill that is required is empathy and connection with the person on the other side. So in this case, they will not really care what you look like, what you've worn and all that. And so it's not a one size fits all. And that's why we have to make sure that you're linking the right young person with the right skill for the right job. Yeah.
All right. Before we proceed, representative from the TVET department, looking at how the job market is right now, there's been the question of exploitation of labor, and it's something we did see over the weekend. And it has been critical in terms of that over the years we have focused on blue collar, white collar, so that then this is the population that is coming to seek jobs. Do you think it is time to rethink, whereas that process is already ongoing with the TVETs, which have been there for a while? Do you think that then it is important in this CBC, right from the elementary stages, to be able to tap more and focus more on skills training? And we've seen even how now parents are handling the CBC assignments on behalf of their learners. So that then this same crop of people will come and you'll still say, okay, they're still underqualified. They can still not do this thing, whereas you have the competency-based curriculum.
Thank you so much. And let me say that the education system has been undergoing some transformation, because right now, as you have rightly observed, we are under the competence-based curricula in the basic education. And once you come to the TVET education and also the university space, especially in the TVET space, we have been undergoing what we call the competence-based education and training. And this one we started some times back before the onset of the CBC. But as I have said before, I said education should be viewed as a continuum. In other words, it's one complete whole. It's not levels. And that is why the people in the education sector saw it wise to bring about the CBC so that it can fit well within the CBC space. And even in the CBC space, we are, even in the basic education space, we are seeing that the people who have undergone CBC, they are more hands-on in whatever they are doing than those who underwent the other 844 system, because it is more grounded on practicality other than the previous one. Okay. Now, to come to your question on how it is coming up together, now we are seeing that these CBC graduates are well grounded in the practicals than the previous one, and by the time they are joining the CBET, these guys, they'll be able now to understand more, and they'll be able to give the skills faster and better than their predecessor. And if I take you back to the days whereby we had technical secondary schools, I went through one.
Yes.
By the time these people are joining Tvets, you could find that these are different people, because already they were well grounded in skills and all that.
Absolutely.
And we were getting very good engineers out of them, good technicians, good technologists. So now it's like now we have found our footing once more, whereby we are going to nurture the skills right from the basic education, coming to TVET, going to university. And we expect to see people who are more competent going forward.
Okay.
And like what you have described, how people were saying they are drivers, they could not even reverse, they could not even start the vehicle. So we are going to see less and less of that, because now people are more grounded in a better way in the skills development space.
I know Andrew wants to come in, but before then, let me just, we can answer the question, Prof. A question was asked to you. I am Felix, a first year from Kabete National Polytechnic. I would like to ask the panel if one is possible to do the CDEC exams without payment.
Thank you. Thank you, and I really appreciate Felix for the question. It might be a question of many. He's not necessarily asking for himself. And I want to respond as follows, that currently in the CBET space, we have that appreciation that it may not be possible that all the students will have all the resources at the same time, so that they are able to do all the assessment at once. So what we are doing is we've kind of segregated the cost per unit. We allow candidates to take units when they are ready for assessment. And the cost of those units, it's manageable. It's about 700 per unit. And we are encouraging that people take units according to their financial resources. We are encouraging that people also, because our training is with industry. As you work in the industry, you are able to gain a few resources that when you talk to your principal and tell him, I may not register for the 5 units, register me for the 3. That is acceptable, and we shall give you a certificate that shows that you've only covered 3 as you continue. So we are flexible in the way you are taking your units. We are also flexible in the way we are providing the report, the certificate, the result slip, so that cumulatively you will have achieved all that you require. Number 2, as TVET CDAC, we are allowing micro-credentials, where you come in and you say, I only need to know how to paint. Kindly take me through the process of painting. Because painting is employable. Once you get that skill, which is employable, we allow you to go out, work, come back again for another, possibly another skill. I need to know how to lay the gypsum. And we allow you to be assessed in that. So our assessment is flexible. We may not assess you for free in total, but that flexibility will allow you time to achieve the little resources that we require for that process, because it has a cost that somebody will meet. And I also encourage you to talk to principal, talk to other partners, and I'm sure you'll find a way of covering that cost.
Andrine, I believe you have some more feedback?
Yes. I had a follow-up question for Bwana Njau. Yeah. There's a time the government had promised to link TVET institutions with the industries. Has that happened?
Thank you so much, Adrian, for that question. Because somebody talked about dual training. Dual training is an offshoot of CBET training. When you're talking about dual training, we are talking about training in the colleges and also training in the industry. And for this dual training to take root, we must have linkages with the industry. And that is what we have been doing of late. We already have established a unit dealing with the industrial linkages and dual training. And as we are seated here, we already have more than 2,100 industries that have been onboarded in the dual training. And right now we have about 65 institutions which are actively training in the dual training, with a population of about over 6,000 who are already onboarded into the dual training. So as far as the industrial linkages is concerned, the dual training is something that is already ongoing.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Bwana Mushemi, I want to direct this to you on how TVET vyuo vya kiufundi na jinsi ambavyo vinachangia katika ukuzaji wa uchumi wa taifa. Mwenzangu George Maringa amezungumzia swala la watu ambao wanatoka hapa nchini Kenya wakiwa tayari na ujuzi kuelekea katika mataifa mengine kufanya kazi kule. Ilhali hapa nchini tunavyo vyuo vya kiufundi, tunavyo vyuo anuai ambavyo vinawafunza wanafunzi hapa nchini Kenya kufanya kazi ambazo zinafanywa na watu ambao wanatoka nje kuja hapa nchini kufanya kazi za aina hiyo. Vyuo hivi vya kiufundi vinachangia katika ukuzaji wa uchumi wa taifa kwa njia gani?
Asante sana Adrian kwa hiyo swali. Vyuo vyetu vya kiufundi bila shaka zinachangia sana katika mapato ya economy yetu nchini Kenya. Kwa sababu hata ukiangalia kama kitu moja tunaita jua kali, hiyo ni kitu inachangia sana kwa economy yetu, na kwa hizo jua kali au wanafunzi wetu, the graduates, they are also able to work in those sectors. So you cannot rule out that issue of our economy really benefiting from our TVET graduates. In fact, in our training, the current training, the CBET way, we are really encouraging our TVET graduates or our TVET trainees, the trainees that we are handling, to make sure that at least 70% of them, they don't think about formal employment. Okay. They think about self-employment, cottage industries, things like that. And that is what I would wish as a trainer to really urge the youth in TVET to at least change their attitude in their professions that they want to take. So that if you are taking a profession in construction, start behaving like somebody who can build, start liking that element of building, and feel comfortable when you have done something that relates to that area of your expertise.
Indeed.
It is only
Yeah.
when you like something that you can really actualize it.
And talking of the young people, they're in the audience. You can hold that thought for a minute, Principal. I want to hand over to Linda Alela. I could see your audience members reacting differently to the discussions happening on this other side of the hall. Perhaps over to you, Linda, for reactions from the audience.
All right. Thank you so much, George Maringa. I'm tempted to tell them wase, but then I realized so that at least we can bring some life. There's a gentleman who raised their hand even before, the conch was on me. So I think I'll allow him to say or to ask a question. Before we come to this side, right in front, we have an alumni of this institution. We have a gentleman who opted to proceed and, join a TVET institution, having attained a B. And of course, technically, you would expect for them to have said that they must get to, a university setup. But then again, we get to hear their story on why they opted for this. So I'll go to this gentleman who decided to raise his hand even before I get the conch. He'll tell us his name as well as what his question would be. My people, this is the time to ask all the questions you want to ask. You have had someone asking, come they can sit for an exam without paying for something, So it is important that you put the principal to task at this moment. So please, simama usalimie watu and then you tell us what your question is and your name as well.
Thank you so much. My name is Regan Faraja. I'm a mechanical student here. One of my concerns is, just as I've had a professor speak about something concerning the payment for the CDAC exams. So I just wanted clarification on that, because I've heard you say that it costs around 700 Kenyan shillings, which doesn't happen in the Kabete National Polytechnic. So please, I want you to clarify on that. Okay, this one is a question to the panelists. Question number 1 is about collaboration with the industries. What partnerships exist between TVET institutions and the local businesses to facilitate job placements for the graduates? Question number 2. This is about long-term career support. Beyond initial job placement, what support do TVET graduates receive to advance in their careers? Because we find that now that we are not linked to the industries, we find that students struggle to look for attachments, people struggle to look for internships, people struggle to look for jobs. So it's like a struggle all throughout the life. So we need you to tell us, how does the government foster to make sure that students or learners or people or graduates are being connected to companies? TVET institutions are being connected to companies. Thank you.
Valid questions right there. George, I hope on that end we'll be getting answers. I hope they note them down. Let's speak to one lady here. Let's speak to this lady. Okay, your name?
Thank you. My name is Glory Njiru. I'm a student here at Kabete National Polytechnic. I pursue a diploma in broadcast journalism. And my questions are directed to Professor Kisuli Kitainge, the CEO of CDAC. One is, given the rising unemployment rates we have among the youths, how is CDAC working with TVET to ensure that the TVET graduates possess skills that meet both the local and international standards? And how do they make them competitive in the global market? And on my second question, it's about the certifications and accreditation. How is CDAC ensuring that our diplomas and certificates are recognized nationally and internationally? And will there be any new certifications introduced that will help us specialize further in our fields? Thank you.
Beautiful. Very valid question right there. And of course, you will agree with her and with us that at some point in time, even the degrees have been questioned at the level of the international stage, where then you get there and you're told that it's important that you even upgrade, whatever it is that you have in terms of the courses that you have picked. And so that means if the degrees are going to be questioned, how much more with the TVET? The gentleman right here will as well ask his question, your name, keep the questions tight and avoid repeating so that the ladies and the gentlemen can as well pick them and respond.
Thank you. My name is Marwa Caleb. I'm a final student pursuing broadcast journalism. And my first question is about talent. This question goes to our principal. About talent, this year we've not had any talent show in this school. How are we going to know if there's any talent in the school? Another question is about certification. In about 1 month, we'll be out of this school, but we'll not have our certifications. How are we going to the job market without certification? And the next question is about talent and popularity. If today I go out there seeking for a job and a celebrity or a TikTok influencer, we go at the same place, they are going to choose a TikTok influencer over me who has talent or I have the skills.
Well, that's a very interesting one, the very last one, of course, and all the other 3 questions. Let's go to this other side. And briefly, even as we ask questions, I think we want to hear what David Musili has to say. David Musili scored a B. He will tell us whether it's a B- and opted to proceed and, get to a TVET institution if they could share. David? Where is David? Oh, David is on the other side, all right. Okay, David, let's get to hear what you have to say about, just encouraging the students as to why.
Okay, thank you for the time. My name is David Musili. I'm pursuing medical laboratory technology at first year level. I opted to take a diploma course in this school after research that I did about the marketplace, and I realized that the marketplace does not only need theoretical skills, or rather theoretical knowledge, but also the skills. And so I found out that this is the best place to get those skills. And also, it has been competitive in the university level, in that the students that we finished together, they were taking education and nursing, which at that time are considered so much flooded. And so doing a diploma course was a safe ground for me, and also it is equipping me with a practical experience that will help me to fit well in the marketplace.
David, what year are you in?
I'm in first year, the 3rd term.
All right. Will you proceed all the way to the degree level? Do you intend to do that?
I intended to proceed to degree level, and I'm still hoping that after this I will continue with my education.
All right, you're done sharing your story. There you go. That's one of the stories. We also appreciate just how much the government has been calling upon students to take advantage of the TVET institutions that we have. And we come to this side. I don't think we have had someone from this end. Yes.
Yeah, my name is Marwa Rioba. I have a question to, I don't know his name, I forgot. Is Professor, the one dealing with curriculum development. Yeah, niko na swali kidogo, nitaenda Kiswahili. Tuko Afrika, nilikaa na Wafaransa, wanaongea Kifaransa. Sasa wacha niongee Kiswahili. Sawa. Niko na swali moja. Statistics inasema watu wengi wenye hawakuenda campus walianguka maths na sciences. I don't know why I want to know how to build a house. Lazima niekewe nini? Hesabu na sciences. Na ndio nilianguka, ndio nikakuja TVET. Unaget? Ama nimesema vibaya? Haya, hiyo ni swali yangu kubwa. Alafu niko na swali nauliza kubwa sana. Shule yetu ina offer journalism and mass communication. Na bro yangu Maro amesema in the world tuko sahihi, si hata journalism pekee. In the world tuko sahihi. Unasoma, unamaliza, unapata TikToker anakumaliza kazi. What's your concern about that? Ukienda huko nje ukishamaliza kusoma, you already finished kusoma. First wanasikia sasa sana sisi watu tuko na certificate. Unaambiwa kuna certificate, ukienda site kama unajua kujenga. Mimi ni fundi, msishangae mbona nimevaa hivi. Nimetoka site direct nikakuja huku. Sisi sio watu wa suti, sisi ni watu wa kazi. Sivaange suti. Na kwanza wale wanatusimamia, siku nyingine mnakuja na overall, nitawaletea moja. Sawa. Sasa suti yetu ni overall. Sasa ndio nauliza hivi. Mnafanya aje connection yetu? Mimi nikienda site juu nimesoma nisipigwe vita. Naweza kuwa certificate lakini huko site tunapigwa vita juu sisi tumesoma. Asanteni sana, naitwa Maro Rioba.
Right. Lakini usigonge suti sana. All right, I want to hand it over to Andreen as well as George so that we can get responses to those questions. I'm sure we're going to have some more time for that. Over to you, George and Andreen.
Absolutely, and one of the issues that has been raised is to Professor Sidak. Perhaps I think you can begin by responding.
Thank you, and thank you so much, our students, and the questions are really eye-opening and very good. If I could start with my brother here, who has said he's in his uniform of Mjengo. That is the right way to be. Love what you do. To answer his question about maths and physics and whatever sciences, we are developing curricula that integrate the required numeracy. It's not maths. For example, I know there's one mathematics you can't fail, hesabu ya pesa. That I know you know, and we need it in life. So we are teaching essentials that will make you perform at the workplace. For example, you've said you are a fundi. A fundi may need to know how to count the number of tiles to put in this floor. But when you go to mathematics, that is area. It's simply counting the number. You get this length, and that length divided by the sizes of pieces of tiles. We are not saying it's maths, but it's applied numeracy. That is the way we are going. We are not emphasizing on things that are abstract. It's not about integration. It's not about what we call imaginary numbers. We are dealing with real, applicable skills in the numeracy. And the last one is about costing. As a fundi, you need to know if this is the area of the wall, how much paint will go in there, how much will it cost, and above all, what will be my cost, my profit to go into that cost, so that you tell the owner of the building, the cost of materials is 5, and the total cost of the work is 7. Out of that, how much is yours? You know. The first question came from our brother Rada. I think I had that Rada name, and it was a good question about training and the cost of assessment. Let me make it clear. Our cost per unit ranges from 700 in level 3 and 4 per unit, and it grows all the way up to 1,500 as you approach level 5 and 6 per unit. Per unit, and I'm mentioning per unit, so that if you are taking 5 units at level 6 possibly, at 1,500, you'll find it's 5 times 1,500 to make it 7,500. If you are taking more units, the way some people have been requesting to be allowed to even take 8 units, then the cost will grow. I want to emphasize the fact that we are training with industry. We expect that every trainee participates in industry activities, and no employer worth his salt will get your labor for free. When we say industry, it means if you are in hospitality and you are learning how to cook, how to make a meal, you come to the guest house. There must be a guest house here. You assist them in the planning, and you start with the basics: cleaning, preparation, serving. And when you spend your days there, finally they will see your talent, and you will be compensated at the learner's level. So I'm sure assessment fee is not a big issue. So it's not 700 for the whole program, but 700 per unit, and it grows up to 1,500. That I can assure you. And it is happening in this polytechnic. It's happening in all the other national polytechnics. It's not about Kabete. What Kabete is charging is just moderate as it's in other institutions. We have Glory Njiru. Her concern is about unemployment and whether the certificate she'll get is recognizable. Let me assure you, Madam Glory, that the certificate that you'll get from Kabete, the certificate that you'll get from TVET SIDAC is recognizable. For our certificate, the real certificate that we give, it has 13 security features. 13 security features. The certificate we give at TVET SIDAC has a feature which is not found in any other certificate in this country. When you will hold your certificate like this, try tearing it. It can't tear. Our certificate can't tear. Try. You can't tear. So that is measure number one. Then we have other measures there. We have codes. When you scan them, it shows you your name, your admission number, your level of certification, and where you obtained it from. I will not mention all of them, so that they may not copy. And we are recognized as the only institution that is offering competency-based education and training certificate. There's none other.
Okay. Perhaps you can allow Principal to respond, and one of you said before you go to the...
Thank you. Thank you. I think I should also add on top of what Prof has said.
Yes.
Every education training has its own dimensions. We are supposed not to be just in class. We also do some talent search. And the talent in terms of sports and arts. In every institution, that is something that is quite open. And we don't even search talent for a day. We will search your talent for all the time you have been here. So that's why we are here and telling the youth, if you feel that on top of your engineering, there is some other talent that you can do, maybe in drama, in sports, kindly do. As I speak right now, all the TVET teams, they are in Siaya, in Kisumu, for some national tournament for 3 days. Our institution is represented.
Okay.
So I hope these other people in all the other talents, just let us register. Those aspects that you're talking about are issue of searching talent on top of the training.
Andrea, before we go to a break?
I think we are due for a break. I know there are so many questions from the students here, and we have answers right here with us. But now we want to go for a short break because we have news at 9. Stay tuned.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in? I was number 2. What position were you? Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism, how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m. The Grind, where business meets brilliance. It's not just about the ideas.
I was working as a shampoo boy. I used to wash clients' hair on the sink.
It's about making them happen. From big wins.
In primary school, when we would be asked what people want to be, I was categorical that I want to be a nurse.
To hard lessons.
The consoles change, the gaming equipment keep changing.
We cover it all. Tune in to The Grind, where every episode is packed with insights.
The person who is serving customers, always be a customer-centric.
Strategies.
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
And stories to fuel your ambition. Don't just dream it, grind it. Mondays at 7:30 p.m.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwe watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa, mikakati na hadithi za kukuza azma yako.
For me to succeed, I have to fight.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30.
Kabete National Polytechnic. My name is George Maringa. On Sign Language Interpretation is Rhoda Nyamai. Time now for the news. Let's get you started with what's making headlines from across the country and beyond.
Tonight, Supreme Court overturns Court of Appeal decision quashing Finance Act of 2023. Court finds that Parliament did adequate public participation. Also tonight, no longer our man.
Now, once you're not Deputy President of Kenya, it will be difficult for you to continue being the Deputy Party leader.
UDA Party announces plans to replace Rigathi Gachagua as Deputy Party leader with Kindiki Kithure. Plus, suspect in the murder of Wells Fargo human resource manager arrested in Nairobi's Dandora estate.
What we found as the injury were on the head. We found a lot of bleeding, bruising in the scalp.
Ayeko died of head injuries, government pathologist reveals. And 23-year-old Seth Nyakeo buried as FIDA raises concerns over increased cases of femicide.
We thank you for choosing TV47 to inform you. At TV47 News, at George Marenga _ is where you can find us in the socials. The numbers are on your screen as well. To our top story, where you will continue to contribute to the affordable housing scheme after the Supreme Court of Kenya overturned the decision of the appeal court that had declared the entire Finance Act of 2023 unconstitutional. The Martha Koome-led 7-judge bench further in its ruling observed that the Parliament did adequate public participation in the process. The Tuesday on the appeal, which touched on the contentious Housing Levy Act, solidified this legality of the President William Ruto championed affordable housing agenda. Moiga William begins our broadcast tonight with that report.
The national government will revert to the Finance Act of 2023 to raise revenue following a successful appeal against the decision of the appeal court that ruled the Finance Act as unconstitutional. Tuesday, Chief Justice Martha Koome and the 6 other judges of the Supreme Court in their ruling overturned the decision that the entire Finance Act was unconstitutional. The 7 judges of the Apex Court ruled on the contentious fate of the Housing Levy Act, ruling that Section 84, Affordable Housing Levy, from the Finance Act 2023 was not relevant in the matter, coinciding with the recent finding of the High Court in a different case that found it to be properly enacted. This ruling means Kenyans will continue to contribute to the Housing Levy Fund. Tuesday's decision by the Supreme Court of Kenya follows an appeal filed by the government, including the Attorney General, the Cabinet Secretary for Treasury, the National Assembly and the Kenya Revenue Authority against the Court of Appeal's judgment declaring the Finance Act of 2023 unconstitutional. However, it was the finding of the Apex Court that Sections 76 and 78 of the Finance Act, which amended the Kenya Roads Act 1999, and Section 87, which amended the Unclaimed Financial Assets Act 2011, are unconstitutional because they are not related to a money bill. The Court of Appeal's ruling was based on several procedural and constitutional concerns. The appellant judges Kathurima Minoti, Agnes Murgo and John Mativo emphasized that certain sections of the Act, introduced after the public participation phase, failed to meet constitutional requirements for public engagement. In August, the government, aggrieved by the appellant court's decision, urged the Supreme Court to overturn the ruling against the Finance Act 2023, citing an economic crisis. These after the withdrawal of the contentious Finance Act 2024 that attracted opposition from a majority of Kenyans, leading to weeks of protest. Moige William, TV47.
Thank you, Moige, for that report. Tonight, President William Ruto's United Democratic Alliance, UDA, has said it will expel impeached Deputy President Geoffrey Rigathi Gachagua and replace him with Deputy President-designate Professor Kithure Kindiki once the court cases challenging his impeachment are concluded. UDA Secretary General Hassan Omar says the party no longer recognizes Gachagua as the deputy party leader and appealed to the courts to expedite the cases. Apollo Kamau reports on a day the party put Gachagua's allies in House leadership committees on notice.
President William Ruto's UDA party has shut the door on impeached Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua's tenure as deputy party leader, firing a warning shot to Gachagua that not even the court will save him in retaining the party seat, now reserved for Deputy President-designate Professor Kithure Kindiki, whom the party says it recognizes as deputy party leader.
This is a matter that is of a political nature, and the court must exercise something called judicial restraint. There is nothing, in my view, that can restore in a legal space what one has lost politically. Well, the respect, the support, the reverence that has gone will not be restated by a court order. I think in the minds of many of us, I am actually waiting for the new deputy party leader so that we can be able then to run a party that is effective, coherent, and focused on the plan and the manifesto.
The party says it's waiting for the final verdict from the courts to pave way for the National Executive Committee to adopt a resolution to revoke Gachagua's position as deputy party leader and member.
But then the party process is very simple. It can even be at 6 a.m. in the morning. It can be held at 6 a.m. and by 6:30 you are not the deputy party leader. There's a NEC that appoints you, and there's the process of revocation. So I think that shouldn't be much of a challenge.
This is a looming purge in Plum House leadership committees in the Senate and the National Assembly, targeting Gachagwa's allies, among them National Assembly's Budget and Appropriations Committee Chairman Ndindi Nyoro, who President William Ruto's allies say he refused to play ball during the impeachment process.
If you are a committee chair, there is a majority opinion that will carry the day. And I think by and large, the BBG, the bread-based government, has sufficient numbers. Even if you are chair and do not go with the majority, you will be outvoted.
If any such a decision is arrived by the party, who am I to say no? Yes. But I can always tell you that it is individual right to represent as a representative of a constituency.
In case Gachagua is kicked out of the party, he will not only be partyless, but could be unable to contest in any electoral seat should the court uphold his impeachment. Apul Kamau, TV47.
Thank you, Apollo, for that report. The hearing of the impeachment case against former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua resumed on Tuesday morning, with his advocates arguing that conservatory orders suspending Gachagua's removal as Deputy President and the nomination and appointment of his replacement are well within the confines of the law. Gachagua's lawyers cited the October 18th National Assembly vote that followed President William Ruto's hurried appointment of Kithure Kindiki as Deputy President as being unprecedented. Let's listen in.
The people of Kenya have got a right to see how the people they have employed are discharging the duties they have been given. We look up to you, my lords, your leadership, to be the bench, what the judiciary is what the people of Kenya look up to hold the country together in terms of observance of the Constitution and of the rule of law.
The Speaker called the House Business Committee. They met. Article 118 was speaking to that committee that you shall facilitate public participation and involvement in the legislative and other business of Parliament and its committees. That committee turned a blind ear to this speech by the Constitution. They sat in plenary. Article 118 1B was speaking that you will facilitate public participation and involvement in the legislative and other business of Parliament and its committees. The plenary turned a deaf ear. 2, this dictate. The most blatant. I want to ask how we cannot stop the confirmation, the assumption of office of Honorable Kindiki on this argument only.
They were not told what his response was, nor was he given an opportunity prior to this process. Because the only way, and you'll find that this is one of the things the Supreme Court says under the Article 47 and Fair Administrative Action Act, the participants in this public participation must know both sides of the story to make an informed decision as the people who voted in this man.
Under Article 38 of the Constitution, the people who supported the Deputy President have a legitimate expectation. A legitimate expectation that their Deputy President, as elected, will be subjected to a proper and accountable and transparent mechanism of removal. They also have a legitimate expectation.
We have nothing against Professor Kindiki. However, once he assumes office, he will now become a deputy president, and therefore we do not need an apology from Kindiki. We need an apology from Rigathi Gachagua. And we need an apology from him when he's at his official residence.
The decision you make in this matter will echo in eternity. It will be a turning point as to whether we continue being a constitutional democracy or a dictatorship and an autocracy.
Tonight, the murdered Wells Fargo Human Resources Manager Willis Ayeko, whose body was discovered after he was abducted in Siaya a week ago, died of head injuries. Chief Government Pathologist Dr. Johansen Oduor said that Ayeko's death resulted from brain hemorrhaging due to severe head trauma. Lennox Sengre reports that one suspect has been arrested in relation to the murder.
The heart-wrenching reality of losing a loved one weighs heavily as the family of murdered Wells Fargo Human Resource Manager Willis Ayeko grapples with the aftermath. An autopsy that was conducted on Tuesday at Lee Funeral Home, leaving sorrow etched on their faces. Government Chief Pathologist Dr. Johansen Oduor confirmed the tragic news that Ayeko died of severe head injuries.
So upon having the autopsy, what we found first of all is the body was decomposed to a great extent, and what we found as the injury were on the head. We found a lot of bleeding, bruising in the scalp, and bleeding in the brain. So this is what led to his death.
Dr. Oduor revealed that the missing tissues were the result of animal predation at the gruesome scene where the body was discovered.
Because we actually found a dead crab within the clothes. So we think they were nibbling on the soft part of the body.
The autopsy procedure took place at the Lee Funeral Home in Nairobi, attended by the grieving family members, Siaya Governor James Orengo, and MPs Sam Atandi and Elisha Odhiambo. The director of the homicide unit from the DCI was also present, underscoring the gravity of the situation.
And I'm sure the DCI is going deeper to ensure that these culprits are brought to book.
This shocking discovery came just hours after detectives apprehended a prime suspect connected to Ayeko's brutal death. CCTV footage revealed two men abandoning his Ford Ranger double-cabin pickup at a fuel station in Sabatia, then casually fleeing on motorbike. DCI arrested Victor Umokoth as the main suspect hailing from Siaya County. He was apprehended in Nairobi's Dandora after forensic evidence linked him to the crime scene. Investigators believe Ouma was part of the group that abducted, tortured and killed Ayeko, whose body bore horrifying marks of brutality, his ears severed and eyes gouged out. Detectives privy to the ongoing investigation have told TV47 that Ouma have since been moved to Siaya, where he will be arraigned as they seek more time to pursue additional arrests. Ayeko, who was last seen attending a funeral in Game on Friday night. As the investigators piece together this chilling puzzle of the gruesome murder of Willis Ayeko, now the big question remains: who wanted him dead and why? Lennox Sengre, TV47, Nairobi.
Thank you, Lennox. Pertinent questions indeed. 23-year-old Seth Nyakeo Njeri was today laid to rest at the Langata Cemetery in Nairobi County. Nyakeo was killed on the 14th of October and her body later discovered in a friend's house in Thika's Biafra Estate. Samira Mohammed with the details.
A somber mood, a broken mother left marooned, shattered by the gruesome murder of her only child. A murder of unanswered questions. A battle to believe that justice will be delivered as desired.
Na Mungu atupe nguvu na kwa hii safari justice ionekane kwa mtoto wetu.
Emotions ran high as family and friends of 23-year-old Seth Nyakeo Njeri gathered at St. Camilla's Catholic Church in Ruiru, Kiambu County to pay their last respects in honor of the slain girl. In their grieving, they reminisced over the cherished memories they now hold so dear as they express their agony of unanswered questions and a dragging system.
Many times we are told no stone will be left unturned. Alafu wiki moja, wiki mbili, na amewauliza, do you see these stones being turned? We pray and hope that this will indeed be the last time.
Sel's body was discovered on Monday, October 14th by her friend Favor Mwende in a rented room in Thika's Biafra estate. A post-mortem examination revealed that Sel died due to lack of oxygen caused by strangulation. Nyakia's family is now calling on relevant authorities to expedite on the investigations and ensure that justice is served to their slain kin.
Is here, I can see you. I will look all around and you will not know who is it. But there is a suspect who is this church. But may God bless you.
This is a section of leaders present at Sel's burial slammed the government and authorities for failing to investigate the ongoing femicide cases in the country.
We have heard all those stories that there is no stone that will be left unturned. But do we see those stones being turned? We see those stones being turned.
Meanwhile, the Federation of Women Lawyers in the country, FIDA Kenya, has strongly condemned the rise of femicide cases in the country in the recent days. The Federation termed the killings as senseless and a tragedy that reflects the growing insecurity on women and girls in Kenya's society.
Enough is enough. We can no longer afford to treat femicide as an isolated series of incidents. It is a national emergency that requires urgent and coordinated responses from the highest offices in the land.
Samira Mohammed for TV47, Nairobi.
Samira for that report. Learning has been paralyzed in all public universities after the University Academic Staff Union UASU and the Kenya University Staff Union KUSU launched another nationwide strike following the government's failure to honor their return to work formula signed on 26 September 2024. Anastasia Mukabi reports.
Dons are in the streets yet again, paralyzing learning in all public universities. This comes after the government failed to implement a return-to-work formula that they negotiated on 26 September this year.
They never honor the deal. The back-to-work formula was ignored.
There is a total shutdown of all learning activities. There is no teaching going on. We are back on the streets because of the violation of the return to work formula.
The lecturers disagreed with the government after they were offered a less money than what they had agreed upon in the return to work formula.
The government has reneged on its own agreement. What now they are telling us, when the technical team went to meet them, they started saying now, we have 4.3 billion. Let's talk about how we are going to distribute the money. They were reminded. We talked about percentages. The technical team that the interministerial committee had mandated had come up with 9.6 billion. So by bringing in 4.3 billion, that was a slap on the face.
However, dons who were reluctant to walk in the streets have been urged to join the strike.
Waadhiri wote katika taifa la Kenya na hususan hapa Turkana kwamba lazima tupiganie haki zetu.
The agitated lecturers have vowed to continue with the strike until the government addresses their grievances.
The government that we have is like a stone, and today we want to address the stone. We need you to implement, honor your promises.
We don't know why that we have to go on strike, not once, not twice.
Therefore, we cannot work with the government that keep on lying to its members. There are thousands of students who rely on us. And we are here today. If the government says the money in the account tinkly, by today, we'll be back to work.
These public university staffs are hoping that this Solidarity Forever song will be the last.
We shall never be divided.
Anastasia Mukabi, TV47, Nairobi.
Thank you, Anastasia. The Kenya Power and Lighting Company, KPLC, has recorded a 1,085% net profit, which is 30 billion Kenya shillings for the financial year ended June 2024. This was a turnaround for the company from a loss of 4.4 billion in the last financial year. And as our business reporter Hibak tells us, the government is still determined to get investors to finance infrastructure within the grid for power price drops.
For the first time in 7 years, Kenya Power did a full 180 on its profit before tax, from a loss before tax of 4.4 billion Kenyan shillings last year to a profit before tax of 43.6 billion, which translates to 30.08 billion in net profit. The company, riddled with accusations of ballooning power prices, justified the sudden profit hike to better sales, with over 500,000 new customers within the last financial year, and the changing foreign exchange tides in favor of the shilling.
Profit before tax, that's 1,000% high. We reported a loss before tax last year of 4.4 billion shillings. The forex being quite a big driver into that. If you were to levelize the issue of forex and have a constant assumption, then last year would really have been a different outcome.
And if you look at the figures, the electricity sales grew by 2.76% to, that is 10,516. And then the commercial, that is in the commercial and industrial categories, as well as domestic customers, recorded the highest growth rates at 5.1% and 5.5% respectively.
The company posted a profit before tax of 43.6 billion Kenyan shillings, indicating a 1,000+ percentage turnaround from a loss of 4.4 billion Kenyan shillings at a similar time last year, while its operating profit grew to 41.5 billion Kenyan shillings. Revenues increased by 21% to 231.1 billion Kenyan shillings.
Because once these transmission lines are completed, what that would mean is that the lines, the medium voltage lines, which are currently moving the power between the locations, will surrender that power, and it will actually be taken by the higher voltages, which means the technical losses will reduce.
However, a prevailing thorn in Kenya Power's flesh is power losses through low voltage transmission lines. The lines and substations were meant to be upgraded by Adani through Ketraco. The power distributor is now blaring a warning of continued technical-related losses, which is in turn charged on the end consumer.
You do realize that we have serious growth in power demand. We need these transmission lines as a country, but we have a constraint in terms of funding them through loans and GOK.
The government is also courting possible investors to join into the power grid due to increased demand and a struggling spinning reserve. For the first time in 7 years, Kenya Power has posted record-breaking profits. This, as they say, transmission line losses are the biggest hit to their revenues, and the government has assured that this will be cured even if the Adani deal still hangs in the balance. Hibak Said for TV47 Nairobi.
Thank you, Hibak. To matters NHIF, where the government has allocated 9 billion shillings to the Social Health Authority, SHA, to settle pending bills for the healthcare services offered under the National Health Insurance Fund, NHIF. Principal Secretary for Medical Services, Hilary Kimtai, says that healthcare facilities across the country can expect to receive these funds by the week's end, aiming to ease financial pressure on facilities nationwide. Chichi Josephine now reports.
Weeks after the nationwide rollout of the Social Health Authority, SHA, the Ministry of Health has announced that it has released 9 billion shillings to the Social Health Authority to settle the outstanding bills incurred under the National Health Insurance Fund, NHIF.
One of the outstanding issues which has come out from the facilities, both from the counties and the faith-based, is that the need to clear the outstanding payments.
This is according to the Principal Secretary for Medical Services, Hilary Kimtai, who confirmed that facilities will receive the funds, including an additional 1 billion shillings for the Linda Mama program by the end of the week.
This week, additional 4.5 billion is going to be released so that it goes to alleviate the challenges that the counties are facing. And in total, we will have released, by close of this month, we will have released 9 billion Kenya shillings.
Amid the persisting showers, Kimtai has also emphasized the ministry's commitment to timely claim payments by addressing challenges to ensure no patient is denied services.
We have directed the county commissioners, we have directed the CECs to ensure that no facility is charging or asking patients to pay for their medical care upfront.
These as the national government now encourages county governments to sensitize Kenyans on the new health scheme. The PIs made the announcement in Nakuru County during the inauguration of the Rift Region Multi-Sectoral Committee entrusted in steering SHA registration in different regions.
Thank you.
Chichi, Josephine, TV 47.
You're watching the Daily Report on this special broadcast Kikao, coming to you live from the Kabete National Polytechnic. We are taking a short break. When we come back, we've got more news on the other side of this break, even as we will continue with the conversation on Kikao just after the news. Please stay with us.
Hey there friends, welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in? I was number 2. What position were you? Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism, how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m. The Grind, where business meets brilliance. It's not just about the ideas.
I was working as a shampoo boy. I used to wash clients' hair on the sink.
It's about making them happen. From big wins.
In primary school, when we would be asked what people want to be, I was categorical that I want to be a nurse.
To hard lessons.
The consoles change, the gaming equipment keep changing.
We cover it all. Tune in to The Grind, where every episode is packed with insights.
The person who is serving customers, always be a customer-centric.
Strategies.
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
And stories to fuel your ambition. Don't just dream it, grind it. Mondays at 7:30 p.m.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora.
President William Ruto announced that 20,000 teachers will be hired next year to support grade 9 students as they transition to secondary education. The Teachers Service Commission, TSC, also called on eligible candidates to submit applications through their website listing requirements that include Kenyan citizenship, SC+ or higher in KCSE, and a teaching diploma. Additionally, while addressing the Global School Meals Coalition, President Ruto emphasized the program's reach, benefiting 2.4 million students daily, with plans to expand to 10 million students by 2030.
In the last 2 years, we've hired 56,000 teachers more. And next January, we are hiring another 20,000 teachers so that every child in our schools have access to a teacher and they can learn. It is also a moment that even as we move into grade 9, we've not only finalized the process of building an extra 11,000 classrooms as government. I've also asked our members of parliament, using their constituency development fund, to also build another 6,000 classrooms so that next year we are ready to make sure that every child that grows to grade 9 have a classroom, they have a teacher, and I am very happy to announce that we have already made all the learning material available. Hunger remains a significant challenge to the well-being of many, particularly in arid and semi-arid areas, and also in our informal settlements. To address this, we have tripled the budgetary allocation for school feeding and set a clear goal to expand the program's coverage from 2.6 million kids to 10 million children by 2030.
Police in the Yalo area Sabatia constituency in Vihiga County are investigating an alleged disappearance of a PAJ church pastor suspected to have been abducted from his home on Sunday night. According to his family, Ben Omolo, who was expected to deliver a sermon on Sunday, went missing on Sunday early morning after he got out of his house for a short call and never returned. Arnold Adidi reports.
The puzzling disappearance of Ben Omolo, a pastor at Evodo PAG Church in Sabatia constituency, Vihiga County, has left many scratching their heads. According to his wife, Nancy Omolo, her husband left their house on Sunday at 3 a.m. for a call of nature, never to return. His sandals were later discovered scattered along the road.
Mke wake alikuja kuniamsha. Akaniambia, mama, hata kama unalala huku nje hatuko vizuri. Pastor alitoka nje kwenda kujisaidia, hakurudi. Tukaamka na watoto, tukaanza kutafuta. Slippers ya kwanza tulipata hapo kwa gate. Slippers ya mwisho tukapata huko kwa barabara.
Efforts by his family to find him have not borne any fruit. The pastor's family says that Ben Omolo did not show any signs of fear or distress before his disappearance.
Mimi nasikia roho yangu nikisononeka. Naomba kila mmoja ambaye anasikia sauti yangu, kama ameona mtumishi wa Mungu, aseme ili aweze kutusaidia.
Officers at Kilingili police station are already investigating the alleged disappearance. Congregants at Evodo PAG Church are also calling for a quick probe to help find their pastor.
Nilienda kwa kanisa asubuhi zaidi. Saa ile Beni huwa anakuja, hakuonekana.
Arnold Adidi, TV47, Vihiga.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in? I was number 2. What position were you? Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism, how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m. The Grind, where business meets brilliance. It's not just about the ideas.
I was working as a shampoo boy. I used to wash clients' hair on the sink.
It's about making them happen. From big wins.
In primary school, when we would be asked what people want to be, I was categorical that I want to be a nurse.
To hard lessons.
The consoles change, the gaming equipment keep changing.
We cover it all. Tune in to The Grind, where every episode is packed with insights.
The person who is serving customers, always be a customer-centric.
Strategies.
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
And stories to fuel your ambition. Don't just dream it, grind it. Mondays at 7:30 p.m.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwe watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa, mikakati na hadithi za kukuza azma yako.
For me to succeed, I have to fight.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in? I was number 2. What position were you? Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m. The Grind, where business meets brilliance. It's not just about the ideas.
I was working as a shampoo boy. I used to wash clients' hair on the sink.
It's about making them happen. From big wins.
In primary school, when we would be asked what people want to be, I was categorical that I want to be a nurse.
To hard lessons.
The consoles change, the gaming equipment keep changing.
We cover it all. Tune in to The Grind, where every episode is packed with insights.
The person who is serving customers, always be a customer-centric.
Strategies.
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
And stories to fuel your ambition. Don't just dream it, grind it. Mondays at 7:30 p.m.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwe watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look for things.
Mtazamaji, shukrani sana kuzidi kufuatilia runinga hii ya TV47 unafuatilia hiki cha kikao, na tumerejea tena baada ya taarifa za saa 3 usiku, naye mwenzangu George Maringa. Bila shaka hapa kwenye runinga hii tunahakikisha kwamba unapokea matukio na matokeo ya siku kadri yanavyozidi kutokea na kutukia. Mimi wako Andrin Kilemi, na shirikiana naye mwenzangu George Maringa na vilevile mwenzangu Linda Alela katika kuzalisha na pia kuendesha kipindi hiki. Nawe pale nyumbani una fursa kuchangia kupitia mitandao yetu yote ya kijamii. Kwenye mtandao wa Facebook tuko live ni TV47 Kenya, na vilevile kwenye mtandao wa X ni @TV47 News, na utanipata @Kilemi_Andrin. Linda, upande wako mambo yako vipi? Naona maswali ambayo yamekuwa yakiibuliwa na wanafunzi hapa bila shaka ni maswali muhimu sana, na pia kwenye mitandao naona jumbe zinazidi kuingia, watazamaji wanazidi kuelekeza maswali yao kwa wataalam hapa jukwani. Upande wa pili hali iko vipi?
Alright, asante sana Andri. Hali si mbaya, na ninapenda jinsi gani wanafunzi wanajitoa kuzungumzia masuala ambayo yanawahusu, kwa sababu ni kitu kimoja sisi kusema hoja hii iwepo, ni kitu kingine kupata watu ambao wanahusika au wahusika wakizungumzia swala hili. Kwa hiyo ni vizuri sana, na nafikiri nitakwenda kwao moja kwa moja, labda nimuulize kaka moja aweze kutoa swali lake, alafu nafikiri tutarejea upande huu. Mikono ni mengi. Basi kuna wale ambao tulizungumza nao wakati ambapo George mmoja alikuwa anasoma taarifa. Nafikiri itakuwa ni bora nikiwapa fursa hii na wao wakapate kuuliza swali lao. Itabidi usimame kaka, ukawasalimia watu na pia utuambie jina lako na swali lako kwa haraka.
All protocols observed. My name is Mwangi Samuel Muya, an applied science student here. So my question is to the state representative. We all know that TVET is a practical-based curriculum. So my question is, how is the government working with the institutions to ensure that they are helping the institutions with the facilities so that they can offer practicals? That is to ensure that they are not producing half-baked trainees. Thank you.
Aha, na pia kuna binti mmoja nilizungumza naye Andreen, akawa anatupatia hadithi yake ambayo ni nzuri sana, ya kwamba yeye tayari ameshafanya degree lakini ameamua atarejea hapa na akafanye kosi yake. Itakuwa labda ni vizuri akitueleza kwa undani. You can speak in English, feel comfortable to use any language.
Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Mukila Yutriza. I'm a graduate from JQuat. I took Bachelor's of Science in Medical Biochemistry, but now I'm taking a diploma here in Kabete in Medical Lab Technology. So I already learned for 5 good years, but then I'm still here to do a diploma. I took a degree because I thought that will be my path to greatness, but then I wish I knew. I got a very wrong information of what I wanted, because I could still do a degree in medical lab, but misinformation is what is affecting people out there. And I would like to say that I'm happy now and I'm very much contented with taking medical lab, because that's what I really wanted. But then I didn't get the right information, and I would like to encourage other people who have degrees but they're not using their degrees how they really wanted, to come to maybe Kabete or TVET and join and take action on their life and on their choices. Thank you.
Beautiful story there. It's never too late to change your mind or to take an about turn. This side, we've not had someone from this side, but I'll be biased a bit because there are people I spoke to. Kuna kaka mmoja kutoka Zizi Afrika alisema kwamba anataka kumsaidia dada Andreen kwa lugha ya Kiswahili na kwamba ana swali lake hapa.
Asante sana. Kwa majina nafahamika kama Kinjabi Kibigo, nafanya kazi na shirika la kijamii linalojiita Zizi Africa Foundation. Swali langu ni kuhusu, namwelekeza profesa pale, kwamba tunaposema kwamba tunaangalia taaluma ya utendakazi, yani practical, ukichunguza katika ulingo wetu au nyanja ya kufanyia kazi, changamoto kubwa ambayo ipo ni kuhusu swala la maadili, kwamba wanapotoka nje, most of them when they come, we look at the values that they are coming with, work ethics. There's a gap in that area. My question is, with the TVET curriculum, do we have values? Are they mainstreamed? Are they infused in the curriculum? Because we have a scenario where you find, mara nyingi utapata kwamba umepeleka gari lako kwa yule mekanika, kidogo ameiba kipuri kimoja, kesho naambiwa gurudumu alipo, kesho kutwa hivyo, alafu unapata hauna nafasi ile. Swali ni kwamba katika huu mtaala, je, kuna nafasi ya kuingiza maadili ndani yake? Asante.
Asante sana kaka. Swali moja tu Andreen, alafu nafikiri nitakurejeshea upande huo. Kuna binti mmoja hapa, labda tupate kusikia swali lake.
Okay, thank you for this opportunity. My question is majorly on reflecting on the government. As much as the government is supporting the TVET institutions and encouraging skill-based education, I find it a paradox that the fee is increasing instead of decreasing. And many students are from humble backgrounds, so we don't afford the fees that they are increasing. You find many students are not learning, they are staying there in the villages and they don't get those skills. I would like to address or bring this point so that nijue venye government inaweza fanya ndivyo hii fee at least everybody can afford, or we may get scholarships, because si kila mtu anapata scholarships.
Good. I'll give you one chance to choose a person that you want to give the mic to. Alafu twende kwa Andreen. Haraka haraka tafadhali. Bwana shika mic.
Yes, thank you very much for this opportunity. My name is John Joengari, taking broadcast media journalism. So I'd like to ask my question. I may not direct it specifically to a specific speaker, but there is one speaker who has spoken about the marketing of the courses. Now my question is, on this marketing of the courses that you're speaking about, what or which are the strategies that you have employed to ensure that you put in place to ensure that the marketing of the course has been done effectively? Secondly, I would like you to respond that whether your trial to marketing the courses has borne any fruits as per now, because we cannot be talking about marketing of the courses whereas still at the moment we have many unemployed youth in the country. If the courses are marketed effectively, then we should see a change in the ratio of unemployment youths in this country. Thank you very much.
All right, Andreen and George, back to you. The questions are clear. One big concern is that, well, while we all see an improvement in terms of the numbers as to the students who have joined TVET institutions, what is the guarantee that they are joining in to take marketable courses that are going to guarantee them a better future? Over to you, Andreen and George.
All right. Thank you so much, Linda Alela. So many questions from the students right here, live from Kabete National Polytechnic. Maringa tunazidi kuchanganua, kudadavua, na hali kadhalika kupata kujua iwapo mafunzo haya ya vyuo vya kiufundi.
Unasema kudada what?
Kudadavua.
Unajua hiyo ni nini?
Na kuchanganua na kupambanua. Lakini nataka nichukulie hapo ambapo Linda Alela amewachia na maswali ambayo yameibuka kutoka kwa wanafunzi hawa kuhusiana na mafunzo yanayotolewa na jinsi ambavyo yanaendana na soko la ajira. Na nikianza hapa na Virginia, manake tunapowasikiza wanafunzi wengi na jinsi ambavyo wanauliza maswali yao, ni dhahiri shahiri kwamba bado wanataka watoke shuleni, wakuje huku nje, waajiriwe. Wengi hawana au ile idea kwamba naweza nikatoka shuleni na nikaanzisha kazi yangu, nikafungua ofisi yangu na nikawaajiri watu. Sijui kwa nini tuna hii mentality kwamba unapotoka shuleni kwanza lazima uajiriwe ili kwamba nawe upate kujiajiri mwenyewe na hata kuajiri wengine.
Asante sana Andrew. Now ni swala ambalo kwa yale maswali yote ambayo yameulizwa limekuwa likija kwa njia tofauti. So it keeps being repeated in this fashion or the other. But if I put myself in the shoes of a trainee like the ones who are with us this evening, even myself as I went to school, I had hoped that by the time I graduate I would have a job. And it took me 2 years to be able to figure out what I wanted to do post-training because I couldn't access employment. And given the background, I think sometimes we appreciate that we may not necessarily have access to capital through other alternative avenues. So in as much as I have this hands-on training, I need a head start. So what are the available financing options, for instance, for such young graduates? So that if I have an idea that I can translate into a business innovation, then post-training, I'm able to transition into the world of work, and I'm able to invest and kickstart an innovation that allows me to either be self-employed, but also to create opportunities for others. So I think financing is a huge conversation, and one that requires us to really reimagine and reorient our how we have packaged TVET training, so that we are able to offer options. And I know a lot of partners in the sector are looking at giving startup kits, for instance, so that during training, if you're in a certain trade, you're able to access a startup kit. But that is not able to benefit each and every youth who is undergoing training. So I think entrepreneurship remains a big space that one can, we need to reimagine. And in this era of innovation, there's a window actually to ask ourselves, even as we imagine of business models that could thrive within very limited capital options, then what are those ideas and how can we leverage ICT to spur this innovation that's needed for us to thrive? I've seen cases of youths who've even gone to university, but then because they couldn't secure jobs, someone is able to just be able to use the social media outlets to create a business idea and, you know, market it through those platforms without having to think about heavy capital investments. So I would actually feel that we have to face the reality that financing is a key thing to consider in terms of enabling the youth to start off something that they can jump into. But while at the same time, we know one student alluded to that sometimes this issue of fees is a big one. Mm-hmm. And if I'm not from a well-endowed family, then it means with the charges or with the cost associated with training and materials that are needed for me to be able to complete my course, I may end up dropping out. So it's also about looking at how partnerships within the ecosystem, for instance, can facilitate that, but also innovative scholarship model. When we did a study around 2019-2020, one of the things we found out is that even access to scholarship, we still have the dynamics around the ones who are urban have more access, the ones who have educated peers have more access. But yet, for the most disadvantaged youths, this whole business around even just knowing there is a scholarship on offer by any partner who is is offering scholarship, that information is not able to spill over to the youth. Let's call him the last mile youth who is in very rural or disadvantaged spaces. So these issues around equity are things we really need to think about. And I've also encountered spaces where actually the training institutions are able to, through the partnerships with the industries, to always have those very cut-out opportunities available to them. Like even in this very conversation, there's a lot of, most of the students who've spoken this evening are in broadcast and stuff. And there's TV47 on the, hosting this conversation here. So what are we, for instance, opportunities, what are you offering to these who are already speaking to us and telling us we are frustrated in terms of getting these opportunities? But I think there's a window. We have industrial liaison officers, for instance, in this. And there is need then for us to be a little bit more aggressive in terms of reaching out to the market players. Right. Because even when it comes to attachment and internships, some of us as students are expected to still pay. Like if I want to go for attachment, I'm expected to pay a certain amount for me to be admitted for that scholarship. So this financing dilemma is a big one. Okay. And I think we may just have to consider having a genuine conversation or a very honest conversation with even the industry players, so that if this industry training linkage is to really yield the desired fruits, we will have figured out how to unlock some of these bottlenecks that come with access to opportunity.
Okay. Thank you, Virginia. Before I hand over to you, Maringa, I'd like to cue some sound bites from students of TVET, other TVET institutions that we spoke to, and who had a lot to say about what we're discussing tonight on the quality of training, the quality of trainers, the accessibility of our TVETs, because I understand in some areas we have TVET institutions which are not well equipped. So let's hear what they had to say.
Nilipata kuendanga university but nika choose kwenda vocational juu niliona vocational ina take short time. The reason why I chose a skill-based course is because nikitoka hapo nje kwa industry itakuwa better na I'll be more ready.
So nilipata B minor KCSE and nikaitwa Technical University of Kenya, but I chose to come in a TVET juu ile course bado ningepursue huko, ni pursue hapa itakuwa more advantageous nikianzia hapa. Juu starting with a diploma ingefanya nikuwe na advantage mingi than starting with a degree course.
Umepata kusikia mwenyewe kutoka kwa baadhi ya wanafunzi wa vyuo vya kiufundi na vile wakielezea maoni yao kuhusiana na hali ilivyo katika vyuo hivyo vya kiufundi, taaluma zinazotolewa pale. Na Maringa, tulipoanza mjadala huu tulikuwa tunaangazia a modern workforce.
Yes.
Labda tusikie kutoka kwa wataalam who is a modern workforce.
Yeah, and perhaps even Prof, as you come in, I know you're angling to do so. Most of the questions by these wonderful ladies and gentlemen have been directed to you. Perhaps you could even start by, before you come to modern workforce, respond to the questions, and also give each of you a chance. I can see you've been noting down, especially on the issues that these students have raised in the round of questions you picked earlier.
Okay, thank you. We got a few questions and they are good. In fact, very good. We encourage because the more questions we get, the better we make the system for all of us. I have a question with regard to the issue of practicals and ethics. Wahenga wale husema
na wahenguzi
walisema ya kwamba aptitude will keep you somewhere, will take you there, but attitude will keep you. Aptitude takes you, but attitude keeps you at that level. How you behave at the workspace, the kind of ethics, the kind of values you hold will determine how far you can go in any establishment. So we need to have that conscious belief in ourselves and respect to self and to others and to the values of our system so that we are able to progress to higher levels. How you behave at the workspace when you are alone determines so much about how far you will go. Because get there quickly may not take you there. Get there quickly, take shortcuts, you'll always find that you have left a stitch behind. So let's promote these values. In our training right now, we have integrated the soft skills, the employability skills, the skills that lead you to becoming holistic, problem solving, communication, relating with others. These are important skills. Whether you are doing technical, whether you are doing health related, whether you are doing agriculture, whether you are in ICT, you need to be able to express and listen and communicate with others so that you are able to promote a humble workspace. So attitudes, I agree with you, 100%. My brother from Disappearance, we need them and they are part of our curriculum right now. So we have the common courses, we have the general courses, generic skills, and the employability skills, which go hand in hand with the technical skills. The next question is about government and skills and paradox of increasing fees. That fees is not being increased. Actually, when you do cost per cost, unit by unit, you'll realize that the cost in TVET is modest because most of the facilities that we use in our technical institutions are government provided, unlike other institutions, possibly of higher learning, where they have to facilitate the workshops. Right now in our technical institutions, we have the state-of-the-art machines in the areas that we've been facilitated. So generally the government is moving towards achieving, and we have shifted the way we do training. We are saying let us collaborate with the industry all through, from the start up to the end. Because even if we buy that which is current today, in the next 2, 3, 4 years, it will not be current. So we need to collaborate with the industry where things are changing so that we learn within the changing space.
Okay, absolutely. Principal, you can also respond to some of the questions.
Maybe to add, I think Professor Kitenge has said it all in terms of the fees.
Okay.
because I would wish that as Kenyans we should also take an opportunity and appreciate our government. The government that have really funded education. Previously we used to be decapitation where the government could put in some amount of money. So in the government budget, it's already done enough. And the fees that have been given for the TVET institution is a restricted fees. We have our secretary here, State Department. It's a restricted fee, which is very minimal. And how I wish it is now for us, the institutions, to complement maybe what the government is doing, but the fees is not increasing. In actual sense, it's very fair when it comes to issue of hardening practicals and hardening the new CBET method. Okay. John from journalism is the issue of maybe marketing, and that is, I like Professor had addressed the issue of the attitude, because you can find some very good courses that are being developed by even the universities or us in TVET, and they have no enrollment because of maybe what the perception, our perception. I know of some few short-term courses that we have advertised in these institutions. They have not attracted enrollment. Construction foreman for some professionals. You see, how will we be trusted in supervising a construction project if we don't have some basic element of storekeeping and all that? So it is upon us to maybe in our profession have this attitude. So I believe on this issue of marketing, it also goes back to us doing the courses. We really have to like these courses, and because Professor was being able to address the strategies and maybe the results of the marketing. Our results cannot be very good if the outsider there is not able to accept the information. And youth, I would wish we try and also thank our government, because the government thought when we were sleeping, the CBET curriculum, if it was not with us, where would we be? Because we were training other methods. If the CBET curriculum would not be there with us, I think the Kenyan economy would be somewhere in a mess. But I know that it is CBET. Let us embrace it. Let us take it in the hard way, the way it is coming, and we will be in the right place. The Qatar government, the Qatar embassy, could conduct the exam in one of the institutions in Kenya, meaning this is the right place. Yeah, so I think that is the encouragement I would like to give our youth.
Bwana Njau, some feedback on Facebook, we can say that as well. Ian Gitonga is asking, I would love them to address the issues of research. We have very able trainees in various departments who are very mindful practical research but lack support. TVET needs to support research in technical institutions. Perhaps, or did you respond to that?
Okay, thank you so much for that observation. And let me say that TVET is relatively young compared to other levels of education.
Okay.
And as I had started by saying, is that we are carrying out reforms. And these reforms, I can say they started or they began in earnest in the year 2013 when we got the TVET Act, the very first ever TVET Act. So we can say that the reforms we're talking about are from 2013 is like 10 years. 10 years is relatively young. And when it comes to the issue of research, basically, as I had started by saying, is that research is actually the stronghold of universities. But when it comes to TVET, our stronghold is what we call innovations. Because there is research, then there is innovation. And as I had said, is that all these levels, they kind of assist each other. Because now from the research, we get the innovations. And I'm not saying that we are not doing research as such, because even in our institution like this one, we usually hold the annual research festivals, whereby people with their research papers, they present. And then from there, we are able to assist the one that can go to the level of innovations so that they can move there. But of course, there are areas that we have not addressed very well, but we are still continuing in the sense that like those innovations, we need to have what we call the incubation centers. And we are in the process of developing incubation centers, whereby these innovations are going to be nurtured and they are going to be commercialized. So we are moving towards there, but we have, we encourage research, we encourage innovations, and that is why we have research fora in the research institution like TVET, and also innovations. In fact, we used to have annual competition for, in the area of robots contests, and you could see them, they would do things. The only thing you have not reached, which you are moving towards, is now commercialization of the innovations that we are having in our institutions.
Okay. Even, we can go back to principal. I can see a question here. Clement from the Kabete National Polytechnic. I would like to ask a few questions. How does TVET SIDAC engage with stakeholders? We'll come to you, principal. How does TVET SIDAC engage with stakeholders? How does TVET SIDAC ensure the quality of assessments? How does TVET SIDAC support accreditation? Briefly.
Even before, Professor, you respond to that question, you seem to have more airtime. Most questions are directed to you. We will have to link him up with our commercial director, because there's another concern here, even as you respond to what George has raised. He says, hi, my name is Walter from Kakamega. Kindly ask the panel, and specifically the professor from SIDAC, where are our results of 2022 March-April results? He says he's from Sigalagala National Polytechnic.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Maybe I should start with that one of Sigalagala National Poly. It's a valid question and a good one. Let me report this. I know we are on national TV and everybody's seeing what we are doing here. We have since released all results up to and including those for July, August. The assessment that we did in July, August, I can confirm that we released the results yesterday with our Cabinet Secretary, Minister of Education, as our chief guest. For all the previous series, we have released, and we even went ahead and declared that if there is any institution that has pending queries, we gave a timeline that we were to address all queries, and we blocked our activities to address all queries that have been pending. So the question from Sigalagala, what I would say is, let the candidates get in touch with the leadership of the institution and bring their query to us, whether individually or for a group of students, and we shall sit. We usually block our activities for a week to resolve any pending query that we have. And that is how we are going. And even for the ones we released yesterday, if there is any institution with a query, we've already given a timeline. By 11th of next month, we shall be closing all the queries. So we request that all queries are brought to us, we resolve them, and we issue certificates, and we advise. Because time in technical training has value, and a lot of it for that matter. Time value for training, time value for money. We value the progression of individuals. So let us receive our queries and we shall respond. How we engage professionals. I know here in Kabete and in our other institutions, we have our portal where we request people to register as verifiers, as examiners, as setters of tools, as markers. We engage different levels of, but the first requirement is that you must be a CBET trained trainer. You must be competency-based, trained in education, and so that you are able to facilitate others. We have had regional trainings. Last week it was happening at Kaimosi, and it's ongoing in different places. And for the Nairobi region, it's going to be there. So we are busy facilitating achievement of skills for this country, and we are listening.
Yeah.
Let's have all the questions.
We will be getting to now the solution-based, but let's just address a few questions here. To the principal, kindly, can they cut the money from the school fees or from help? Because I am only doing 3 units in the CDAC, but I'm being charged 3,000 shillings, but 3 times 700 is 2,100. See, I don't understand if the 900 is for service fee or lunch fee. Remember, have you understood the mathematics? Is the math mathing enough?
Is it number 3?
Thank you for that question. And okay, in order for, remember when we are here, we are discussing quite a number of levels.
Yes.
There is a for 3, there is a for 4,
5.
There is a for 5, and there are for 6. And all the charges are different, depending, as Professor has explained, the unit that you undertake. So, and you had the minimum that you can pay per unit is maybe 700, and the units are also classified. There is a basic, the core, and the basic, common, and core. All these units are different. So it depends with the way you add your units and the way you get. But I want also to, as I react that one, this is an individual, maybe issues of when it comes, because there are quite a number of valid and the units selected. But the issue is the exam is charged simply because of even the material that is being used in that exam and the process of that verification as has been explained.
Yeah.
But I want to address the real issue of change. You know, sometimes it becomes a bit hard for these the public to believe about when a change is coming. TVET is a change that has come. And that's the reason why you see, even in the primary schools, in the basic, the pupils are coming with practicals. Wanashona shodo usiku hapa, wanapelekea mwalimu asubuhi, wanatengeneza beads, wanapeleka asubuhi. Those are practicals. And TVET is easier. I wish we were born in the time of TVET, because whereby the assessment is 60% practical. 60% practical. So if the assessment is that rated high, it means this training is purely based on skills.
Okay.
Yeah.
Stanley, perhaps you can respond to this one. Habil Inonda, before he massacres us. Where can those who scored C- and below in KCSE be assisted to join the TVET training? Habil Inonda. Yeah, you can respond.
Okay, thank you. I think the education system in Kenya is structured around the National Qualification Framework. This framework has different entry levels for different qualifications. Even it has an entry level and course where you can be entered. But for us, C- is an entry requirement for diploma. That is level 6. So anybody who scored C- and has the relevant cluster requirements can be allowed to enroll in a diploma course or level 6 course of training. There are other requirements that are normally defined by the qualification awarding institution or the examination body that they are enrolling in. Thank you.
Maindi, ningetaka pia ni kushirikishe kwa swala la RPL ambalo tulikuwa tumeligusia awali. Na kuna maswali ambayo yanaibuka kuhusiana na vyeti hivi ambavyo vinatolewa kwa watu ambao tayari wana ujuzi, tayari iwapo wanafamilia wanazilisha kupitia kazi ambazo wanazifanya na mikono yao. Labda tueleze ili tu kuweza kuhakikisha kwamba ujumbe huu umewafikia wananchi jinsi inavyofaa. Mtu anapokuwa na skills, anapokuwa na yale ujuzi, lakini anahitaji kile kijikaratasi, kile cheti, anahitaji kulipa pesa, na iwapo anahitaji kulipa, analipa shilingi ngapi?
Asante sana Andrin. I think hilo ni swali mufti ama mwafaka.
Murwa.
Hilo ni swali ambalo liko kila mahali. Maybe vile tunajua ya kwamba RPL imekuja na ni mgeni na ni inafanya ndio ina trend. Kama kuna mahali kwa education kitu ambayo ina trend saa hizi ni RPL. Kwa sababu ukifuatilia utapata kila mtu, hata hapa kila mtu ako na ile skill, ujuzi ambayo unaona hujafanyiwa assessment na ungependa ufanyiwe assessment. Hata mimi pia. Kwa hivyo hiyo ndio dialogue ambayo inaendelea na challenge ambayo yenye tuko nayo, kwa sababu Kenya tume launch tu RPL mwaka huu na tumeanza implementation, imekuwa ikiendelea. Tumeweza kufanya assessment na wale tuliassess wa kwanza mostly tulikuwa tunapata sponsorship, tulikuwa tunapata wale wadau development partners ambao walikuwa wanaamua na tulipia. Kwa hivyo haikuwa, lakini imefika mahali inatakana kila mtu ajilipie. Na tunapozungumza sasa, tumekuwa tukifanya ile criteria ya kufanya kulipisha. Government imekuwa ikifanya survey kuwa na formula ile criteria ya kulipisha mambo ya assessment ya RPL, kwa sababu hatukuwa nayo na hatukuwa tunalipisha. So ile assessment yenye iko inalingana na level ya assessment. Kama wewe unakuja kufanyiwa level 4 artisan, utalipishwa pesa ambayo haitalingana na mahitaji ya hiyo course ambayo unafanyiwa assessment, hiyo ujuzi. Kuna wakati utahitajika uende hata kwa lab workshop ufanye practicals, hapo utatumia material, utatumia stima na wale wanakuassess pia. Kwa hivyo hiyo ni inahitaji ulipe. Mara nyingi inchi zenye zimekuwa zikiendeleza RPL zimekuwa unapata zinalipisha, azilipishi. Kuna saa zingine kuna government levy systems ambayo imekuwa ikisupport. Kenya tumekuwa tunafanya ile tunaita cost sharing. Kuna wakati unalipiwa na wewe pia unalipa kiasi ndio uweze kupata hicho cheti. Na ukiangalia ile cost ya kufanyiwa assessment ni kidogo sana ukilinganisha na mtu mwenye anaenda kulipa tuition fee na yote asome. Kwa hivyo ndio watu walifikiria itakuwa tu hivyo bure, lakini kuna kiasi utalipa na hiyo kiasi hata utalinganisha na yule mtu ambaye alienda kulipa school fees akasoma hiyo miaka yote. Ile survey imefanywa, payment ya assessment ya RPL inaanzia kama shilingi 10,000, 13,000 na inaweza panda kulingana na ile level yenye unafanyiwa. Ikipanda juu utapata bei yake iko juu. Tena inalingana na ile course ambayo unafanyiwa assessment. Kama ni ya practical utapata hiyo iko na pesa ya juu kulingana na ile mtu ataulizwa tu maswali.
Naam. Bwana Maindi, unapozungumzia tathmini hii, assessment ambayo unazungumzia, huyu ni mtu ambaye tayari ana ujuzi, ni mtu ambaye amekuwa akifanya kazi hii kwa muda. Kwa hivyo yule ambaye anakuja kumfanyia hii tathmini ambayo tunasema ni assessment, anatumia vigezo vipi kuainisha kwamba kwa mfano Virginia ni mechanic mahali fulani, kwa hivyo nitamfanyia assessment kwa level 4. Ni vigezo vipi vinatumika kwa kuweza kubaini kwamba huyu nitamfanyia assessment katika kiwango fulani na huyu nitamfanyia katika kiwango kingine?
Ningependa kusema ya kwamba RPL imeunganishwa, sio shule kivyake. Ni ile aina ya masomo ambayo imeunganishwa na the normal system, education and training. So ile standard yenye utatumia kwa assess mtu mwenye ameenda kusoma class, pia ndio ile standard ambayo mtu ambaye alijifunza mahali pengine pia yeye atatumika kuasesiwa. Kwa hivyo tuna level, ile kitu tunaita level learning outcomes. Ndio kiwango kinatumika kutahini hao watu wote, whether umeenda kwa normal formal learning ama umesomea nje na umekuja kutahiniwa, wote tunatumia kiwango chenye kinaitwa learning outcomes. Learning outcomes ni kile wewe unaweza kuthibitisha, what you can do. We assess what you can do. Na mwenye ana assess pia sio mtu yeyote tu. Kama saizi uwezi, hata kama wewe ni trainer na hujafunzwa kufanya ile assessment ya RPL, uweze ruhusiwa kwenda kutahini yule mtu, kwa sababu RPL nayo iko na special, tunaita special pedagogy. Psychology yake ni special kwa sababu una deal na mtu ambaye alisoma kivyake na nafaa na mhandle kivyake. So ile viwango zenye tunatumia ni zile standard, kwa sababu ile cheti ambacho mtu atapewa ni cheti tu cha kawaida, kitakompete na kinatoshana na zizi zenye mtu amepata kwa formal learning.
Asante sana.
Bila shaka, perhaps briefly, if you could respond. There's someone is asking, we want to know how generation is transforming youth to employment, briefly.
Thank you so much. Even as I respond to this, allow me to just react to two things and challenge the stakeholders here. There was the first question about the colleague from Zizi Afrique asked the question of professionalism. I think we have to emphasize the need for a holistic curriculum, because as much as the technical skills will get you the employment, what will keep you in the employment? It's the growth mindsets, it's the professionalism. So I will challenge the youth in this room that even as we focus on the technical skills, let's make sure that we're also getting it right on the professionalism, the behavioral, and the mindsets. On the second question about the issue of marketing, the other thing that I will also challenge the stakeholders here is that sometimes we sit down and come up with courses that we think the young people want, but are we validating that with them? We need to understand what are their aspirations, what are their desires, so that by the time we're also developing curriculum, we know that they actually want that curriculum and they want those types of jobs. Otherwise, we may have curriculum and we have types of jobs that the young people don't want. To your question, at Generation, what we do is that we have a 7-step methodology that we have adopted. And what we pride ourselves in not being training institution, but a job matching institution. So what we do is that we first engage with the industry. And at the point of engaging with the industry, we understand what are the pain points of the industry, 1. 2, what are the vacancies that they have? And 3, what is the type of youth that will be successful in a role? So that means that we are coming to the workflow, we are shadowing what a successful candidate looks like, the key tasks that they do, the mindsets that they have, and the value drivers that they have. Once we get that information, we now come and develop a short-term curriculum. Our curriculum is bootcamp training. It goes for between 4 to 8, 12 maximum weeks. Once we do this, we now recruit young people based on the intrinsics and motivation. Remember, what we are saying here is that we are focusing on the lowest demographic of young people. And so we don't just look at the education qualifications, we look at your motivation and intrinsics. Then we take you through the training. Once we take you through the training, we are matching you back to the employer that we had already identified. But we don't just stop there. I think the issue of mentorship and psychosocial support is a very critical aspect. And we continue to support these young people, because imagine a young person who's just come from training and this is their first job. They're definitely facing a lot of challenges. And so we have a very good system that ensures that there's that continuous mentorship and wrap around to make sure that they're successful in their careers.
Indeed. Before I hand it to Linda, just briefly, let me read some feedback all the way from Berlin, Germany. Hi, dear TV47, as an educationist, I am confident that the future of our Kenyan TVET system is very bright, seeing such programs that are meant to broadcast this field. We need such and much more creation of awareness on the positivity of technical innovations in our country. I'm following keenly and very proud of all the educational developments in Kenya. Keep it up, TV47. Dr. Waiswa Wanaseti, tuned in from Berlin, Germany. Thank you so much, Dr. We want to take a short break and, of course, link up with Linda Alela. I know there is a lot happening on your end. Linda, over to you.
All right, thank you, George. I appreciate just how much, most of the questions from this end have been responded to. I think we have to take that quick break. Mr. Director, we take a quick break, and of course we come back with the audience, or from this side of the audience.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in? I was number 2. What position were you? Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m. The Grind, where business meets brilliance. It's not just about the ideas.
I was working as a shampoo boy. I used to wash clients' hair on the sink.
It's about making them happen. From big wins.
In primary school, when we would be asked what people want to be, I was categorical that I want to be a nurse.
To hard lessons.
The consoles change, the gaming equipment keep changing.
We cover it all. Tune in to The Grind, where every episode is packed with insights.
The person who is serving customers, always be a customer-centric.
Strategies.
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
And stories to fuel your ambition. Don't just dream it, grind it. Mondays at 7:30 p.m.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo
conversations and responses to the numerous questions that we all would have. And the questions keep streaming. And I'm on this side, of course, or the side of the audience. We're doing this with Andrin Kilimi, who's up there, as well as George Maringa. So on this side of the audience, there's so much life, but at the same time, msiniangushe, hebu tuamke tu stretch kidogo. Na tuko kwa TV live, sasa mkiniangusha mnaniangusha vibaya. Tuamke tu stretch kidogo, so at least we have some live. Mtu amke simpei chance ya kuuliza swali, you know. Let's have some live here. Ai, hapa watu wa mbele hawana nguvu. This is our town hall like no other. So sometimes, break rules kidogo, we freshen up, we feel good, and then we're back with our questions. I think as we sit down, thank you so much, guys. I think we're up and alert. It's important that we're up and alert. We have beneficiaries of the TVET program here. Some from actually this very institution, and I think I'd love to hear one of them say something. You will say something? Well,
good evening. My name is Miriam Dirango. I am a trainer in this institution and also an alumni. This evening, I want to say that indeed TVETs employ. I stand to represent, we are around 50. So TVET does not only produce for the outside market, but rather it also produces for its market. Therefore, TVET is an employer. Thank you so much.
Beautiful. Our beneficiary, as I say a beneficiary because then she's an alumni of the TVET program as well as a trainer here. Now we go back to the questions. Quickly, we have to make this very fast so that at least we get answers before it's time.
All protocol observed. I'm Hilary Ababu from Hospitality Department. I'm doing a diploma, but I'm taking under CBET. My question is for the principal and the professor. So, principal, you have said the government has reduced the capitation, yet it has introduced CBET curriculum. So, CBET entails the participation of more of practical. So, the government should introduce a new founding method to cater for the TVET according to the CBET. Then the second question is, I'm hoping the government has created a link for the CBET student after qualification of their course, they can get employed easily or fast.
Okay. That gentleman, thank you so much for the question. The next gentleman is anasema anapeana comment. Tume salamu.
My name is Peter Wayne. I only have a comment. I'm very happy to join this institution because many people outside there think that people who are joining TVET are failures. Because me, I'm very happy because people in TVET institution equip individual with skills. Yeah, I'm pursuing hospitality.
Beautiful, thank you. So let's have the mic on this side.
So my name is Lillian. My point is about creating employment. Now as a TVET student, after I have done with my education, I need to employ myself. That's why I'm in school, to employ myself. But the question is, it's about how will I employ myself when I am not getting support from the government, and also the government is asking for so many licenses that I can't afford at starting. So how can I get a support as a TVET student to start my own business as a TVET student? That's my question.
Beautiful. And that one has decided to give the mic to the next person. Fine.
Thank you. Protocols observed. My name is Lawrence Juma from Science Laboratory, Level 6. My question goes to Professor Kisuli Kitenge. What partnerships or collaboration can TVET foster with the industry to create job placements? And second question goes to Virginia. How can TVET improve the image of vocational training to attract more employees or job opportunities? And the last question goes to Professor. How can TVET advocate for policy that support job creation in sector relevant to TVET training? Because you have seen President Ruto going around and ensuring that how we can create jobs, how they can, their manifesto. So how can you, in your perspective in sector, how can it advocate, how can you, what precaution or what measures have you put across so that as students, when we are finishing graduation, how guarantee can we find job outside?
All right.
Thank you.
Give the mic to the gentleman right behind you. All right. Andrin, you'll allow us about 3 and then we take it back to you.
So, hello. I'm Ian Karanja Gushu, and
So see, all of us, we're all talking about lack of employment, posing a lot of questions to the professor, but we don't understand the kind of world we are living in. So we are living, like Madam Virginia said, we are living in a modern world. Here the TVET are equipping us with a lot of skills. But how are we ensuring that even with all those skills, we can be able to apply them in the modern world we are living in? So a few questions for you, Professor. So
You better make it very fast.
Yeah, one thing is a compliment. So one thing is for sure, there's a vast skill gap in the world out here. There's a vast one. There's a huge skill gap, and we need a lot of skills that are related in the level of technology the world is in right now. So my question to Professor is: we understand that the TVET stimulates local economics by creating jobs directly. Nevertheless, like Madam Virginia said, we are rapidly changing global in terms of technology and job market. So how is the CDAC ensuring that you are staying competitive in the job market, and how are you going to ensure that even after we are through, after we graduate, we fit in the modern world we are living in? Because let me give an example.
Make it brief, please.
Okay, I'm doing agriculture extension level 6. So someone who did agriculture extension 5 years back cannot be compared with me. So they are doing like, for example, in mating of livestock, they are doing the natural way. And we are learning about, we are in the AI world. So how are you guys going to ensure that we are well equipped to fit in the modern world we are living? Because we are in the vast technology world, and we really need that one.
Fair enough. Matching up to the world. Right behind you, please. Make it very fast.
Good evening. My name is Joshua Kairungu. I'm a student here pursuing mechanical engineering, production option in my final year. My question, I was expecting to see the PS of TVET, but I'll address my question to whoever will answer it. So many TVET graduates, less employment opportunities. It is difficult to start a business. Foreigners will come, they will get favors and incentives in form of tax holidays, and we all require all these licenses to start businesses. And apart from working for Windies who underpay technologists and technicians.
Be polite.
And no, it's the truth.
Right.
Apart from working for Windies and being mistreated and underpaid, what else is the government doing to ensure that all these TVET graduates that we are celebrating are going to transition into a functionable market where they can have skills and then after that go and start their own ventures? Because I cannot go and start my own things without a lot of experience. Thank you.
Fair enough. Right behind you, quickly. And then this gentleman, and then we go back to Andrin.
All protocols observed. My name is Richard Otieno, pursuing diploma in broadcast journalism. And my question is just to the professor. It's like today all the questions will be on you. So the question is that concerning the exam, the CDAC exam. We did an exam in March, April, and you said the results were out. So according to the institution, for you to collect the results, you have to take a clearance note from the department and also the accounts office. Why is it that can't we just access the results freely without the clearance note? And another question, the last one concerning the examination. We are told that next year we are going for an attachment, and there are some of us coming from a humble background who cannot even access an attachment site. So is this CBET system organizing for attachment for us? Thank you.
Gentlemen, one as we go.
Okay,
please stand up.
Asante, kwa jina naitwa Kilonzo Joseph. Kwanza ningetaka kusema kila sheo kwa heshima zake, mwamba ngoma ufuta kwake. My field of profession is social work and community development here. And that field is more about and focused lobbying what pertains human being. And there still we believe any person has solution to their problem, but given the opportunity, but they need motivation. to me is the question goes to the partners and the government. What is that driving force to the institution to motivate the trainees? Thank you.
Thank you so much for the questions. Andreen, this one special request here as we come to you.
Okay.
Good evening, members.
Good evening.
My name is Stanley David. I'm a beneficiary of TVET from this college. I want to ask maybe 2 or 3 questions, more so to my good friend, Professor Kisilu. When you talk about TVET and about CDAC, let me refer to the CDAC. I've been going around maybe engaging with because I'm a TOT. I've been engaging my colleagues who we went to college with, maybe in this school or in KTTC, about the TVET. But to get that, the technical, the theoretical, and the practical aspects are not matching with what is being done at the school. Whoever is training, whatever the course is training, is not competent enough to the course. So you wonder, if even some of these exams are set from the CDAC, you get maybe, for example, a cutting list for a course. Me as an expert, because I'm an expert in this field, I check on the cutting list. What has been requested by the examiner, who is CDAC, who is Professor Kisilu here, is not even in the market. And then you expect the learner or the student here to come to implement. So you get that whoever is supposed to give these skills, he or she needs a lot of training before he or she comes to implement the same skill to impact the same skill to the learners. So you need to take on the training of the trainers before you implement what you're implementing. Because moving from CDAC is like CPC, where you're telling us you want to be practical, 60% practical. And I remember when we were doing our courses here, the pass mark was 40%, which was a bit theoretical. But our theory was totally matching. When you go to attachment, you could get whatever you learn in class, you go to your car, like for me, if you're STEM, I'm an electrical engineer, you get whatever you learned with maybe here in school, is practically being done there. Here we are talking about practicals, whereas you get in a college where, like electrical engineering, we have 10 streams. But they have only models, because whatever now, without doing models, they will do models. They are doing real practicals. You get there sharing the same equipment. There's other students sharing equipment for which are just meant for poor these students. How do you expect them to be competent, really? Surely, Mr. Professor.
All right.
Number 2.
Make it brief.
Yes. The other one is funding. CDAC and CBC, they are very expensive because they are not models, they are real practical cases. So when you talk about these cases of implementing practical cases, there's a lot of funding needed. Who should fund that? Because most of the colleges, like for example, maybe Michoki Technical, not even Kiaru, which is a new college, which should undertake those levels. Who should fund those courses to be done in those schools? Maybe the last one, maybe somebody asked from the students, someone said something about career progression. After diploma, you go to HND. After HND, you undertake your bachelor's to master's. From these levels, maybe from craft levels, here it's called level 2 or level 3, going upwards. How do they progress with their theories, with their practicals? And when you go to upper levels of education, like JQuat, you get now, end up on a funzo, theory peke yake. Kindly answer this question. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So many questions coming your way, George and Andreen. I think I throw it over to you.
Wow. I'm sure they're running out of papers to write on. Those who have tablets and smart devices are also doing the same. At this point, who will go first? You can start. Yes.
Thank you for those very engaging questions. But I've noted that there are about 4 or so questions which were asking about employment. And I think this is a point of concern. And I want to say that the government is having what we call a one-government approach. It's not that the Ministry of Education are doing their things in isolation from other ministries. And this is why the Ministry of Education, specifically State Department of Tvets, we are working closely with the Ministry of Labor and also the Ministry of Diaspora Affairs in the fact that we do not want, a mandate is supposed to stop at where we give the certificate. But now, because as we deal with the supply side of things, but now we have seen that we cannot just stop there, and we have seen that we have to work with the people who are dealing with the demand side of the employment, and that is the Ministry of Labour, Ministry of Diaspora Affairs, because we have seen that our students, our products, we must source for them employment, and that is why under the Ministry of Labour, we are working with them towards what we are calling the BLAs, that is bilateral labor agreements, for our people to go and work in the foreign nations. Of course, the developed world, that is where we are taking them. And this one we are working together with the Ministry of Labour and the Ministry of Diaspora Affairs. And some people are saying that this one is promoting a brain drain, although to us, there is no brain drain that is being promoted here. Because one thing we know is that as much as we need the dollars that are going to be earned by our people, we also need to promote technology transfer. And there is no way you are going to promote the technology transfer if you do not go and work alongside these developed countries. And that is why we are saying that this one is going to solve many issues. One is to reduce the unemployment. The other one is technology transfer. The other one, they are going to give us what? The foreign exchange. And that is what we are doing in as far as trying to source for employment for our people is concerned. The other thing is the fact that we decided that us as Tvets, we must come closer together with the industry. Initially, we were just doing our things. Industries were doing their things. Nobody was knowing what the other one is doing. And the reason we came close to the industry is that we are being accused of producing half-baked graduates who were not employable. And that is why we had to bring industry closer to us so that we could reduce that gap, so that our products are going to be employable by the time we are discharging them to the job market. So all in all, when we are talking about the employment, there is a lot the government has done. And you do not have to look at the Ministry of Education in isolation. You have to look at what the entire government is doing, because we are addressing the same problem. The other thing is about licenses. And as you can remember, I had talked about incubation centers. And the function of the incubation centers, which we are in the process of putting across, is the fact that in the incubation center, you're going to be assisted to hone your innovation. You're also going to be assisted to monetize your innovation. Monetization includes things like how you source for the licenses, how you source for the finances to ensure that you monetize your idea. So all this, we are addressing them, and we have to overreach to ensure that our students or our graduates are not going to be alone in searching for jobs, searching for how to start a job. So we are with you, and we are going to assist you to ensure that you are going to be going in the right direction. Something else about the government, we have the youth fund, and this one is also operational. And once we start the centers, the incubation centers, it is also going to deal with this one. It's going to assist people to know how they are going to source or to get this kind of youth financing. So we are dealing with everything as a government to ensure that we assist our youth in sourcing for employment and starting their own businesses. Thank you.
And I think perhaps that opens maybe the entry of the home stretch of this conversation due to time. And I'll begin even with Prof here. Yeah, Principal?
Before Prof comes,
yes.
so that he can answer a lot of questions have been directed to him.
Yes.
I think I can just try very fast and try to answer Ian and Otieno, who Ian has observed a very good thing. He has said that we are living in a modern world. That is, technology is changing. The moment we came in and the moment we be going out, technology would have changed. The session we have been here. That one have been observed, and that is the world we are living in. So the issue it was talking about is the issue we prepare them to really fit to this modern world. I would say, I like Professor from where he came from. They used to give students power to read and to do what pertains to that degree, to that qualification. I tend to think it's the same, because when the technology changes and you have released you still carry the attitude and the whatever, and you change with the times in your profession. And with me, with the trainers, we retool. There is the retooling of the trainers. And the issue of the curriculum is also being revised. Remember, curriculum was developed with the industry as per that existing technology at that time. So we continue reviewing the curriculum. Professor can bear me witness on this. Otieno, on the issue of correcting maybe a CDAC exam and a clearance, it is good to note that these are two bodies. I'm a trainer. I'm in charge of training. Professor here could be in charge of the assessment. So I think we have two different entities. I have my own condition when it comes to training. Yes. Professor has his own condition when it comes to the assessment. So my friend Otieno, maybe you have to get some clearance, maybe because you really have to clear the training. I think this is the issue of maybe training requirements and the assessment requirement. So, and the number, there's somebody who has mentioned attachment. I think we are now learning this session so that we are CBETed. You know, when we leave this session, we'll be CBETed. The word attachment is coming to die. It is going to be replaced by dual training. If we are in church, we could say amen. Because the word attachment is coming to an end. It is being replaced by dual training. Karibu, Professor, you continue with the rest.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. You've done very well. You've covered all of them. Actually, all I need to say is amen. But let me start with the first one, which was partnerships. All that we are doing, we don't do in isolation. For example, if we are developing a curriculum in the health sector, we involve regulators of that sector. So regulators of all the different sectors that we are working with get involved in the development of the curriculum, in the assessment process, and even in the confirmation of the grading that you receive. In the medical lab, which I had some people are here, we are working with the KML TTB, and we've worked to agree that this is how the training shall be done for you to be acceptable to practice in the industry. We are training for the world. Let's be very clear. And that world starts from where you are. And that world is not limited. So the skills that we are providing are not for a particular area. They are not specific that you must go and work in a particular establishment, because even once you go out there, you'll need to be inducted into the systems of that particular industry where you're working. So what I would recommend for all of us is a process called learning to learn as the first requirement we must have. Today, if you visited me, Bwana George, in my house, you will have to ask, where is XYZ? Where is, not that you don't know houses, you know houses, but you must be kind of oriented to the system that you are working with. That is a very important aspect. It's not retraining, it's induction, it's more of grounding you to the system. Those of us who are in hospitality, you cannot just move in to a hotel in the city and prepare food for a customer. You must be shown where the freezers are kept, where the knives are kept, where the supplies are kept, so that you provide them in a way that is acceptable. It's not that you're being trained, you are being oriented to the systems. So let's agree that even with the new system of CBET, which we are working on, there is need for relearning and being retaught and unlearning some of the things that we used to do. It is better to produce a candidate who is competent, one of them, rather than producing 100 en masse who cannot go and perform where they are going.
Okay.
It is better we go the hard way, my brother, of facilities. We produce few, but who can achieve. TVET accredits classes of 20, in groups of 20, because we know a set of equipment can be well utilized by a class of 20. What do we find in our institutions? 100, 200, yet we only have one set of equipment. That becomes a challenge. So let us be lean and factual and be straightforward for the sake of the person we are producing. Okay. Remember, that person is my child.
Yeah.
And the pain of a parent taking a child to school and the child comes back, either the way you took him or worse than he went there. That's painful.
Indeed.
And as a parent, I would wish let my child be taken through the best so that they become citizens of the world.
Let me wind up on this. Okay.
Just
briefly.
okay.
Yes. Oh, you can wind up in
yes.
20
As
seconds.
I wind up,
yes.
Let me encourage my young brothers and sisters who are seated here. There is no initial training that is going to be enough. We must prepare to learn, relearn, learn again, upskill, so that we fit into the changing world. This world will not wait for anyone. Okay. And finally, on the background. Up to a certain level in life, we stop complaining about the background because we are the background. Thank you.
Before we
question well answered. I see why he's a professor.
Yes.
So I think for me, I'll actually take this opportunity because I think we're having a very important discussion here. And I'll actually take this opportunity to discuss a practical solution in terms of the question of partnership. Through the support of the US government, we are undertaking a project called USAID Employment Pathways for Youth through a consortium of USIU Africa, Generation Kenya, National Youth Bunges, and Edison State University. And what we are trying to achieve here is that, one, how do we ensure that we are supporting and capacity building TVETs to create clear pathways to employment for Kenya youth? The idea is that we want to support TVETs by partnering them with employers to be able to address this continuous question that we are hearing. You know, what are TVETs doing to support the question of employment? But beyond that, there is that practical training with real-world relevance. Professor has been very vocal when it comes to the question of CBET.
Yes.
And there is that continuous need to ensure that anyone who's doing CBET training is actually a practitioner themselves.
Yes.
And those are the things that we want to work with TVETs to support them and ensure that that is happening. There is that question that came up around supporting career growth through mentorship and guidance. We also want to build the capacity of TVETs to ensure that they are able to do that on their own, so that we can be able to solve this question that we are looking at. We are also looking at expanding access to flexible learning. The USAID Employment Pathways for Youth project understands that sometimes we need different learning options. Much as we are talking about TVETs, TVETs are not accessible to everybody because, one, we have to appreciate government and the efforts that they have put in place, but there's still a lot that can be done. What can we do when it comes to hybrid learning? And that's why we are trying to learn from the US community college model through Edison State University to try and see, can we implement some of the lessons into our current curricula. But we'll also support with training up to about 150 faculty in terms of how do they, it's not just about having relationships with private sector, how do you hold and support those relationships for continuous employment? And then lastly, for the young people, through this support, we'll be supporting about 16,000 young people into employment in Nakuru, Machakos, Kilifi, and Mombasa. Yeah, so Now,
I'm sure you will get back together and form another partnership. And Rain, perhaps you can wind up with the panelists
Yeah,
on
kwa
your
sababu
end.
hata ya muda, labda tusikie maoni ya Virginia. Kuna swali ambalo lilikuwa limeelekezwa kutoka kwenye hadhira hapa, ulijibu, na pia tupate maoni yako na kauli yako ya mwisho hata tunapouliza swali, who is a modern workforce?
Thank you so much, Andrin, and I'll be brief. I think my word for this evening is innovation, and we can't talk enough about technology. And what I have seen and experienced with technology is that it's practically possible to bring the world of work into the classrooms of today. So if we are keen around investing in, dignified TVET training spaces by, leveraging the power of technology, it will be really helpful for us to transform the quality of training and experiences. And the sentiments by the youth in the room are actually very valid.
Yeah.
Because if I don't get the right exposure in this space, even with the current, linkages with the world of work, then it means even as I go out, I still am missing something that really would give me a head start compared to anyone else who has not gone through training institutions. So I float out there ideas such as, when we think about even labor forecasting or employment forecasting, where platforms that can be adopted to allow interaction with youth and the employers, or with the training institutions and the employers, so that if I'm in hospitality, I'm even able to access and understand what the the market dynamics look like. And the innovations of this kind, there's some pieces of work around this going on in Mombasa, in Kisumu. These are pieces that I think we can highlight and bring to the fore as a way of promoting that connection, and for us to understand the trends in the market and train for that. The other thing is this question around pathways for employment, and it's something we can't run away from, because until a time, the real rebranding, to the person who asked me the question, the real rebranding for TVET is if we're able to transform the lives of people who have gone through TVET. So if we're able to assure our youth a pathway for transitioning to employability or employment, either self-employment or employment by other providers, that's the greatest rebranding agenda we can have, because they'll be models to their communities. They'll be able to transform their own lives as they speak.
Okay.
But then also it's being cognizant about the opportunities and innovating around that. I give an example here. The government, for instance, has opportunities around procurement, and a certain proportion of those opportunities are reserved for persons living with disability. But then, because of issues of certification, registration, it's usually very difficult for that to happen. But there are initiatives such as one housed in Kise, where they are supporting and facilitating that connection and offering a desk for support. So being alive to the realities and challenges these youth are encountering, and adapting our approaches so that some of this support is institutionalized and one can actually be aware of where to go in terms of accessing support. So that's what I'll share.
Thank you, Virginia. Stanley, 30 seconds as we wind up.
Yeah, thank you. I think I want to appreciate the initiative, and from the discussion we can realize that to produce a modern workforce requires multifaceted efforts of very many players, starting from the labor market to the academia to the employers. And so this kind of initiatives are very important. We realize that the labor market is changing faster. Labor market and societal needs are changing faster than the academia is reforming. And so it is upon us to maintain the tempo of reforms to be able to produce a modern worker, one who is employable. But employable doesn't mean that one who seeks employment. Employability means one who is fit for purpose. We train people who are fit for the current labor market demands, where there is ICT, there is digitalization, there is automation. A worker who should be able to fit and keep changing, transitioning as technology also transitions. Thank you.
Bwana Njau, your very few remarks.
Thank you so much. Two things. First of all, in our institutions, we have offices that enables the students to source for attachment, although we are going to call it dual training, and also for employment. One is the IRO, that is the Industrial Liaison Office. Then we have OCS, Office of the Career Services. So for the trainees, you must make use of these offices because they are put there by the government for you so that they can assist you. Because I've heard so many of you are saying you're having a problem when it comes to sourcing for places for attachment in the dual training. Secondly, we have to embrace the fact that we are living in a global village. We used to hear about it when you were young and we are not understanding, but now we are living in a global village. We must know that the modern worker is a worker for the world. So in other words, we are not training for the Kenyan market, but you are training for the international market. And so when such a thing that happened in Kabete yesterday and the day previous, whereby an international company had come to recruit, you have to take that advantage because they were saying, some people were saying, no, they cannot go and work out there. You must know that you are not like ourselves. You belong to the world. You are a world citizen, and you must go to where the job is. You don't have to say that you have to just get a job in Kenya. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Maringa. Now we need to wind up. Kimekuwa ni kikao maalum na ambapo tumejadili maswala kadha wa kadha. Najua profesa pale ameulizwa maswali mengi tu. Chief Principal pia amepata maswali kutoka kwa wanafunzi na tumepata suluhu kutoka kwa Generation Kenya ambao wanawatayarisha hawa vijana ili waweze kuwa tayari katika soko la ajira.
Absolutely. Virginia Ngindiru, the education expert at Director of Innovation, Zizi Afrik. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining us. Next to her has been Stanley Maindi, the Director Technical Services, KNQA. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us. Representing the PS has been Joseph Njau, AG Secretary, State Department for TVET. Thank you so much for joining us, sir. Also, Professor Kisilu Kitainge, perhaps the recipient of the most of the questions here, CEO of SIDAC. Thank you for joining us. Our wonderful hosts, that is the Kabete National Polytechnic. Thank you so much, Patrick Muchemi, the Chief Principal, Kabete National Polytechnic. Last but not least, Alvin Mukabwa, COO, Generation Kenya. I believe these ladies and gentlemen will be able to link up with you for being the after-school skills and, of course, to be able to link them up with future employment. My name is George Maringa. On this side of the set, we've been having my colleague, Andrin Kilemi. We want to thank you so much for your tremendous feedback and for your patronage and company tonight. The conversation is always bigger than us. It continues online. This is just the first of many. We will be coming back to have a bigger and better conversation. I've also been having Linda Alela on this side of this set. We want to thank you, and also they wish you a wonderful night. We are really stuck up and we are done for time. That's all we have the time for. Good night from Nairobi, and always stay safe and be kind to one another.